Welcome one, welcome all to NZ Sim Racing TV. After two fantastic weeks of action to start the finals, it's time to move on to the third round of four in the NZ Toyota 86E Cup. We're in virtual Japan at Mobility Resort Motegi for what's sure to be another incredibly exciting night. Wherever you are in the world, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Reese Gardner, Scott Rankin alongside me in the commentary box. Tell you what, Scotty, I've been looking forward to this round for a while. Plenty of big overtaking opportunities at this track. Plenty of potential for big sends.
Yeah, and a couple different layouts on offer when you head to Mobility Resorts Motegi. Try saying that one 5 times fast. But lots of elevation change, a little technical, a little tricky, but you know it's something that's a little bit different as well. It's not one of those tracks that you just look at it on the surface and you go, okay, here's exactly how I'm going to navigate it. The switchbacks are really, really strong underneath the bridge as well. So you go through underneath the bridge, up through 8, 9, and onto 10. 10's such a sharp corner that on the surface, you look like you got a lot of room. Reminds me actually a lot of the third last corner at Winton, whereby you go into it going, yeah, this corner's going to open up, it's going to open up, right? And all of a sudden it doubles back on itself and it's a lot tighter than it really looks. But that's Motegi. Again, we come out of what was probably a really, really rough round, and indeed it was a rough round, not just for the drivers, but for the stewards as well. I went back over that stewards report, 13 pages on that one. Biggest stewards report thus far. It was a hefty one. There was a lot going on there, but also we added water to the racing, and that tends to do that sometimes.
Yeah, certainly does. It's rather difficult to keep things clean when the track gets a little bit moist, as it were. Well, round 2 was certainly an exciting one, but one thing's for sure, Antel Sabo came away with the maximum points from the round. He certainly raised the ire of the stewards on one occasion. I believe he's one of a few drivers who actually got penalties for impeding in qualifying, and so he has 5 points taken off his total, but he's still won every race of the season thus far and leads the championship pretty convincingly over Mitchell Sparrow for the moment. Sparrow really rocketing up those standings, having a good round 3. Alex Sprague also on the podium back at Homestead Miami Speedway, and he is hoping that he'll be able to keep that momentum up, because equal on points, Ewan Baker and Leo Duncan, 2 drivers who'll be looking to break a bit further into those standings after some hints of success that thus far have not come to much compared to the likes of Antel up the top.
Yeah, huge opportunity in the offing though for a lot of drivers that are actually on this list as well. So we got to sort of keep an eye on it. The fighting sort of from 11th here all the way through to the back end of the grid. It's just points and individual points, and you can sort of see that 93, 92, 92, 91, 86. I think it is actually for Avon Dunn as well. So it's incredibly tight down through the middle of those standings, and unfortunately, the safety car scored 0 points last time out. How can they? They are really underperforming behind the wheel of the safety car. Realistically, you come into this and you think safety cars should be scoring more points than that.
Yeah, certainly. Well, the team that have scored the most points thus far in the season, Ewan Baker and Hayden Kirk for KSR Speed Nation, they've gotten some really good points totals coming out of these first couple of rounds. And, you know, both Ewan and Hayden have had ups and downs over the course of the first 2 rounds, but they should be happy with how things have gone for them thus far. Corbin and Lane in the P&M Power by MRP team running second, and the Mackenzie Motorsport team of Mitchell Sparrow and Tom Bewley in third place. So there'll be a lot to come here from the final 2 rounds of these finals series. It's going to be a tough championship to win, but we have an opportunity now to chat with the leader of the championship and the man who was voted the Moser top performer at the previous round. Of course, Tuesday after every round, polling opens on the NZ Sim Racing TV Facebook page for the public to vote on who they thought was the best performing driver at each round. Antel Sabo, you are the one who was voted that. So, yeah, I mean, we already saw that you were quite happy with your performance coming out of the previous round, and you've managed to grab yourself a prize on top of that of your choice.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm very grateful for everyone who voted. So thank you very much for everyone who pitched in there and helped us with the vote through the week. I really very much appreciate that. I'm glad you saw that, or glad you thought that I did the best job. So I appreciate that very much. Looking forward to grab that sequential shifter there to add to my collection, with the handbrake and the H pattern. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Excellent. So I guess that's your choice already made there. You're going to go for the Moser SGP sequential shifter, and yeah, you already have the H shifter and the handbrake on your rig as well. So you're going to be fully kitted out in the rounds to come.
Oh yeah, we do a little bit of rally up here as well. So I love my rally, doing skidding around the place. So I'm gonna be looking forward very much to doing that.
Excellent stuff. Well, congratulations once again, Antel, and here's hoping that you'll be up the front as per usual this round, and we can see if you may grab another top performer award in the rounds to come.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's gonna be an interesting night tonight. Looking forward for the challenge. Need another track, and yeah, looking forward to racing all the boys.
Indeed. It's going to be a tough one at Motegi. We'll say our goodbyes to Antel Sabo for now. Hope he enjoys his SGP sequential shifter. Thanks, of course, to Moser Racing for sponsoring the Top Performer prize at every round. Scott, we got a great roster of sponsors on board for this series, and it's just fantastic to see the level of support here for not only just sim racing in general in New Zealand, but also the option to go from sim to real life. The top prize of this championship is a test day in a Toyota 86 Cup car in the real world at Hampton Downs.
Yeah, all proudly brought to you by Crem Insurance as well. Look, when I talk to a lot of people, they ask me, what's probably a good example of how well things are supported in the region. This is actually the series I tend to point towards, and the reason for that is I really, really like the climate and the way that everyone gets behind things. I'm really, really jealous of the way, and this has been ongoing as well throughout my esports commentary career as well, dating all the way back to 2013. New Zealand's got a really, really good market set up, and the level of support that they've gone to and the way that they really get behind things is just impressive. Like, I cannot fault the way that things are marketed, handled, and that's a shout out not only to the team that are working on the produce here, but Asheen, the team just in New Zealand in general. So a big shout out to anyone who's involved in New Zealand esports across the board. But yeah, to Crem Insurance, thank you so much for coming on board and putting something on like this. You and I have talked about this a few times off air, and we're just lucky to be a part of all that's going on. So to everyone that's out there participating, to the sponsors, to everyone that's put this on, I want to say a big shout out, because this takes a lot of bodies to put together, and yeah, the drivers are an essential part of that because they put on the entertainment for us as well, but everyone that's a part of it is just so keen to have on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant round of support from many fantastic companies here in New Zealand that you're going to be seeing scrolling in the top right corner of the screen throughout the broadcast. Just waiting on the end of practice here, and we'll be able to find our way around Mobility Resort Motegi for 3 races here tonight. It's certainly going to be a fun one indeed. Let's hear from some of our sponsors before we take a detailed look at the round to come and the track we're racing on.
In the heart of the action, where adrenaline meets precision, where every second on the clock, every gear shifted and every corner carved tells a story of passion, innovation and relentless pursuit of speed. This is no ordinary sport. This is motorsport. Racing isn't just about the blur of the track or the scream of the engines. It's a ballet of brute force and beauty, where drivers and machines push the limits of physics in their dance around the asphalt. Off the track, rallying and club sport take the challenge to the wild, with nature's unpredictability adding to the thrill. Here, drivers weave through winding paths, their vehicles barely touching the ground as they leap over hills, thunder through forests, and navigate paddocks, car parks, and city streets. Of course, none of this would be possible without the teams of dedicated mechanics, engineers and crews who breathe life into these mechanical beasts, crafting and fine-tuning until the engine's perfection. But the pulse of the sport beats strongest behind the scenes with the unsung heroes, our volunteers, our officials and our clubs. They are the backbone of every event, guardians of the sport's integrity and safety, ensuring the sport goes on, come rain or shine. At its core, motorsport is about family, friendship, and the community we build around our shared love for motorsport. It's where lifelong bonds are formed in the heat of competition and the cheer of the crowd. Every drop of sweat, every burst of speed, every cheer from the stands fuels this extraordinary world. Here, we don't just compete, we ignite dreams and race together towards greatness. This is no ordinary sport. This is Motorsport New Zealand. Join us and be part of the excitement, passion and glory.
You have something in your mind, you are able to create it, to build it, and then someone from the other side of the world came and tell you that they want to spread this product to 50 countries in the world, so it's a huge personal.
Well, here we are. Thanks so much to all of our incredible sponsors here in the NZ Toyota 86E Cup. Of course, Scott, this is the same format as it was for rounds 1 and 2, mirroring the format of the real-life NZ Toyota 86 series. We're going to have a 13-lap sprint to start things off here, then 16 laps in the second race, with the top 10 inverted from race 1, and the final race of the night's going to be only 10 laps, so even more of a sprint than the previous two. And that certainly spiced things up in the previous 2 rounds, especially that inverted top 10 gives our front runners a chance to carve their way back through.
I think the biggest thing is it says, yeah, you can't just go out there, set the fastest laps in qualifying and run away with the night. If you're right there in the top couple, you've got to do some overtaking. And that's what racing's all about. It's about setting the overtakes up. It's about getting aggressive through the pack. And I think that's one of the reasons. Look, if you're gonna be successful at any level of racing, reverse grid racing is one of the best ways to go out there and put your skill set on display. What is a race car driver and a successful race car team looking for? They're looking for a quick driver first and foremost. You've got to have the talent. Number 2, you've got to be able to look after the car. If I'm going to throw a $50,000 race car at you, I want to make sure that I get $50,000 worth of race car back, albeit with some maintenance work to be done with that. If I do that often enough, that's another really, really good way to keep coming back. Number 3 is I can make overtakes and I can make racing exciting. Why? That sells you sponsorship dollars. That gets labels on the car, like our main sponsor, Creme Insurance. So those are 3 big keys. Now, that does encompass everything because you've got to be quick, and quick has a lot of technical bits and pieces, but one of the big keys to being successful, if you can be successful in a reverse grid race, you're just about set for success in motorsport, full stop.
Yeah, exactly right. And, well, plenty of overtaking opportunities around Mobility Resort Motegi to allow you to show off that particular section of your talent. Let's take a look then at the course these drivers are negotiating in practice, thanks to our race admin, Matthew Pluck, at the wheel of the BMW M2 CSR safety car. We are running the east layout of Motegi. It's a course that is certainly familiar to a lot of people in iRacing, using the back straight of the full circuit, hard braking zone to turn 1 there, and then basically a cross between a series of S's and a double chicane to bring you onto the next straight. You've got to be careful with the curbs here. There's grass right beyond them, and it's so difficult to maintain momentum through that section. You have to keep it flat out through the exit to get the best run down the straight, but it's very easy to get onto the grass with these very thin curbs. Hard braking zone into one of the slowest corners of the entire facility to bring you underneath the bridge. The oval circuit crosses over the road course there, and then flat out through this right-hander. This is where you're going to get into the more sort of flowy section of the lap, and it's all about maintaining speed at the apex and making sure you have the rotation you need on this car to not only look after the tires, but also stop you from getting past into this next hairpin, keeping it to the right hand side of the circuit, bring it over to the left side for the apex and running it all the way out to the exit. One more straight here on your way down to the final corner. Again, one of the slowest at the facility. A full 180 degrees here. Stick to the inside. Maybe you could late apex it and get a proper run out onto the start-finish straight to set up a move into turn 1. It's a lovely circuit, this one, and I'd say, Scott, probably the simplest of the tracks that we're going to this season, but no less challenging.
Well, you say simplest, but the biggest part about Motegi, and particularly this east layout, is for those of you who are fans of racing but not necessarily iRacing, what we know as slowdown penalties. How do you pick yourself up one of those? Well, on the rundown through here through turn 1 for Hamish Clennon, then you come under the bridge. Normally you'd head up to the left up there to rejoin the GP layout. You can pick up one on the inside there. You can pick up one on the inside right there as well. You can also pick up one right here on the right hand side, both right and left there as well. You cut too much of the track, iRacing will automatically issue a slowdown penalty. You'll be given a certain amount of time that you must wipe off. The longer that you wait to do that, the more that time extends. So it's in your best interest to serve that as quickly as you possibly can. It's all about track limits. Normally, and we've seen an increasing growth of this in terms of Formula 1, for those of you Formula 1 fans, we've got a lot of gravel now, right along the outside edges of the track. This is iRacing's policing metric. Realistically, we have a computer system. A computer system is really, really good at cut and dry, hard definitions. Drivers love to really push those definitions, push them too far, you'll be dropping yourself a few spots further back. The other technical bits and pieces, turn 6 and turn 10, both really, really tight. Both of those corners greater than 90 degrees, incredibly slow. in both of those sections. A lot of opportunity for cutbacks. All about technicality. You can dive it deep into turn 8 up through the S's. That will mean that you've got a really slow approach to turn number 9, and that's the final hairpin there on the lap as well. Like you said, late apex. This is a track whereby you will set up your overtakes, but for somebody who's covering correctly, incredibly difficult to overtake.
Yes, it's. I'd say it's also the most technical track of the finals thus far. It's a completely smooth surface, like a billiard table, and the curbs are also very flat. Remember, Motegi in the real world for a long time hosted the Japanese Motorcycle Grand Prix, so it's certainly built for bikes. And I mean, it's hosted plenty of car racing over the years as well, but bikes are what it's most known for, and so you got to take that into account when you're attacking this place. You know, there's barely any bumps, and the curbs, you can use quite a bit of them, but very easy to slip over them a bit too much.
Yeah, I think turn 1 as well is really, really underrated, because check this braking zone out. That's the start-finish line all the way back up there. And then watch as you just plunge down this massive hill. You've got to pull the car up, but you've also got to try and carry it deep, because if you're too early on these brakes, well, look at that front end of Joel Herbert's car dive down in under brakes, and then carry the speed out the other side as well. And if you're not using all of that curb all the way out on driver's left, our camera shot right from that shot back there, you're not carrying enough speed into turn number 1. So there's a little bit of a challenge there. And the other thing is, it's very, very easy with downhill style braking zones for the car to just get away from you, and you're just a little bit too deep, run it a touch wide. So that braking zone's actually, it looks very simple. It's a braking zone and we're very close to the 90-degree turn. Well, that's absolutely not what that corner's like. There's little bits and pieces of that as well. We'll come under the bridge here, and then it's basically a long, slow climb back up to the final corner on the lap, which is the highest point right around the circuit as well. So a little bit of a climb here up through the S's, then we skip through this little bit of the S's. This is the right-hander at the back end of the S's, and there's another left-hander to that next corner. So that's all the challenge. You look at this place on the 10 and you go, this looks a very, very simple, and it nearly has elements of Queensland Raceway to it when you look at it, and you're like, oh, well, this is just a simple racetrack. No. A flat map tells you very big lies about this place. This is not a simple racetrack by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, and is that the oval right there? Gee, that's a pretty place. I love that oval. The oval here was brilliant. I wish it was still maintained.
Yeah, unfortunately, structural damage that was sustained during the 2010 or 2011 Fukushima earthquake unfortunately put the oval out of commission, but it lives on in the sim world. Well, for now, the drivers will be focusing on their apexes here on the east layout of the road course. Qualifying is underway, and we'll see who overcomes those subtle challenges of Mobility Resort Motegi the best. Alex Sprague, one of the drivers to bring himself out there. Yeah, you can see the oval in just about every section of this circuit here. The banking just behind them there, it crosses over the track twice. First out of turn 1, and then here out of turn 5, I believe this is, unless my numbering is completely off. But I think one other thing we've got to consider here, Scott, is the amount of on-throttle time on this racetrack. These are pretty slow cars. They don't have much power, and that means the slipstream is going to be very important. Plenty of long straights around here to make those moves.
Well, the other thing is balance. These cars are all about maintaining momentum as well. You know, think of a supercar, you think of a GT3 car, you think of anything with a ton of horsepower, and generally the biggest thing about those things is trying to actually pull the car up. You've got to maintain your momentum as well, as Antel Sabo is going to come out of the pits way down at the tail end of the field, looking for a little bit of a hole. But yeah, even some of the slower corners as well, it's get the minimum speed. It's all about minimum speed. Keep your minimum speed as high as you possibly can throughout things. But even up through the S's, you're maintaining, it's a lift-off and a rotate in, a lift-off and a rotate in. And it's not necessarily a heavy braking zone. It's about balance. And it's about maintaining a little bit of that mid-corner speed. So even what you would normally consider quite an off-throttle area in this track is actually quite on throttle as well, as Ewan Baker's going to give us a really good on-board shot. And again, look at the limits that he's trying to carry both left and right through that chicane. He comes into this second sort of straight before he'll dive on the anchors down about this light post on the left-hand side. That'll be a braking marker that he'll be using for the turn underneath the bridge down here.
Yes, and using all the curb on the exit as well, keeping it flat out, of course, through this next right-hander, but then we'll see how he attacks this section here, the right and the left. It's a misleading corner, or set of corners, this one, because you're trying to set yourself up for the run out, which isn't very long. You got to try and stick to the inside of each corner. It offers you an opportunity to alter your line on the way through, but what's really important for a qualifying lap is getting yourself on the right-hand side of the circuit to open up that hairpin, and it looks like Ewan's done that pretty well. Obviously, half his face is covered by a VR headset, so we can't really tell if he's happy with his performance thus far, but we will find out in a numbers sense when he crosses the line here. Top time in practice was Ewan Baker on a 1:33.968, and his first lap across the line will be a 1:34.1, so pretty close.
Yeah, tyres will still be coming up in temperature. They won't be perfectly there just yet. Maybe a hint of toe in that one, but the big thing for him, that's an off track there at turn 1, so that next lap won't count for him, so he'll be looking for someone to maybe get out of the way. Lap time's already been eclipsed as well. Looks like James Corbin failed to set a lap time on that first run through. No, he's on his run up to the S's at the moment, so getting a little bit of assistance in the PSM powered by MRP entry. I must say I was really impressed with the drive that he put together last week, because he was under a fair bit of assault. He wasn't the fastest driver in that group by any stretch of the imagination, but he challenged at all the right points. The big thing I think watching, remember we talked at length about how Jack Roanwald's going to fight you for everything, and the biggest issue is a loss of momentum at critical elements, and a little bit of assistance there offered by the team car, which I believe was Josh Lane that just let him through. So he's giving him a whole bunch of tow. Antel Sabo straight at the top, 33.9. But the critical thing for me from James Corbin was he fought at the right times. He recognized when cars were stronger than him and tailed them. And you got a little bit of assistance from a teammate to go to the top of the timesheets right there. So it's using the guys around you to give yourself the best opportunity.
Yeah, you could tell on the camera feed he was happy with that one. The Mackenzie Motorsport drivers are running in tandem as well. Mitch Barrow here still looking to set a lap on the board, followed by Tom Bewley, who is back amongst us after unfortunately missing round 2 of the finals. It'll be a good opportunity for Bewley here to pick up some more points, because he looked very fast at round 1. Bryce Harding now the new quickest time in qualifying. It's looking mighty close here. You know, considering Sabo's performance at the first 2 rounds, I was expecting him to lay down an absolute banger of a lap, and everyone would be scrambling to catch up to him, but it looks like it's quite close at the moment. The top 5 is only covered by less than 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, so I was just looking at that and just thinking that was Sabo's first push lap, so tyres not 100% up to temperature. They'd be about 80%, 90% of the way there, and maybe he just didn't get the best run. He's actually had an off track on his second lap, so he sort of had to reset and go again. The biggest benefit, of course, is when you're going for a push lap, you can really opt for that late apex and carry some momentum out of the final corner. So he started that one right there. So I definitely feel he might be capable of going back up to the top of the timesheets. But again, got to make it happen at the right circumstances. The issue for him is if this is a push lap and he encounters some traffic in the middle of the lap, which there is a fair bit of traffic just ahead of him at the moment, he's going to be in for some strife. The other thing is, could have been a banker lap as well, Reese. This is one of those few tracks where I'd actually really like to have a banker on the board, and the reason for it is track limits grass left and right as he flows through that first sector. That might be okay. I think the right-hand side of the track there and the off-track limit, it actually gives you a little bit of leeway, so that one might be okay.
Yeah, Sabo's expression isn't betraying anything regarding that, so he might indeed be all right. Sparrow's first lap on the board puts him into P6, by the way, so keep an eye on Sparrow and Bewley, see what they can do to get themselves further up the field. Sabo's really pushing here in the sweepers in the middle of the lap, was soaring away at the wheel. Just look at the focus that he has here. He's looking towards every single apex here, and you know, not the most animated of faces that I've seen on a Zoom feed, but you can definitely tell he's right in it at the moment.
Well, he was right up against the limits, both left and right at the tip in to turn 10. So that was the hairpin back there. Well, not hairpin, that's greater than 90 degrees. This is the final corner. So again, that line tells me this lap is okay. So all those track limits that he abused them perfectly, because that's what it's about. When you're a racing car driver, one of the big things you've got to do is use every little section of the track. Did the lap count?
It did, but it's slower.
Okay, so a little bit too much grass usage. So here's the game that you're trying to play as a race car driver. You've got to be aggressive with the track limits, but you use too much grass, you can't get the foot to the floor. Low horsepower car, that costs you time. So the big thing is push on with those track limits, but in the right areas. Everything you do in iRacing, you don't have to pay for tires, you don't have to pay for fuel, you don't have to pay for repairs, and it doesn't hurt when you hit a wall, is about going out there, learning every stretch of the track, every little skerrick of the surface that you can possibly use, and maximizing it, which you kind of can't do in a real world car because you're limited by daylight, you're limited by rubber, and you're limited by fuel.
Yeah, indeed. No such limitations here in the sim, and well, weather can certainly fall to your advantage as well, but I've just taken a look at the track temperature, and my lord, it is warm. 43 degrees Celsius is the temperature on the track surface right now, and in iRacing terms, that's getting into really hot territory. It means that, you know, there's going to be a pretty big fall off of the tires when they overcome their optimum operating temperature. Of course, they will start pretty cold, and so you won't have much trouble getting them up to temperature, but you can't afford to push too hard if you want to get more opportunities in for a lap.
Yeah, so you can certainly take away from the peak grip, you're right. And the other thing is cooling them down again. So taking some of that energy out. The biggest thing is, normally, if you're getting on a lap and you're going to have the lap invalidated, if it's in the first corner, okay, well, you can take a whole lap to really build back up again. But if you've pressed on and you get an incident point or something that cancels the lap at the back end of the lap, you've already used that heat up of the tire's still quite hot, and you may not be able to set up and immediately have another push lap. So you generally want that to happen. If you're going to make a mistake, make it early. Okay, look around, go, is there a hole in traffic here? I've got to cool these tires off. I think Bryce Harding actually came back into the pit lane and might have picked up some fresh tires as well. So I'm just taking a little bit of a look around. Hamish Clellan, realistically, I think Hamish Clellan will think that he's a little bit better than where he's qualifying, where he's running at the moment. But this is a stiff field to really be in there. But yeah, for me, I think he's capable of more. I don't know whether or not the 86 is actually Hamish Clellan's car, but I've seen him drive a little bit better than that, and I think he's actually capable of better than that. So do with that what you will. But for Bryce Harding, hey mate, he's put this Sigma Sim Sports thing in all the right places, and I think you mentioned it earlier on, Reese, tow. I think that's a big part of that lap time.
Yeah, certainly is. Harding's leading his teammate Corey Crossan here, and we'll see where Crossan will be able to put himself here. 134.5 is Corey's quickest time thus far, and he's just starting a lap there, getting towed around by Bryce Harding. So looks like we might see the Sigma cars come up a little bit further together at that point. Just saw as well, I believe, Nathan Allen, who just set a lap time to put himself a bit further up as Sabo goes to P1, 133.7. The pace is starting to come down there at the front. And also saw that Tom Bewley put his first lap time in as well. Good enough for 8th.
The big thing for Sabo is he actually found a group to actually go out and run a lap with. So these first lap times that we saw, no tow assistance, so there was no one punching a hole through the air for him, and Bewley's right behind Sabo on track as well. In fact, I actually think he's just let Jack Gronmore go. So Bewley's back after a bit of a break over to Australia to go run some Porsche Cup cars, and I believe that was at Sydney Motorsports Park for Bewley, based out of Havelock North, Mackenzie Motorsport machine. But that was really cool to see him out there and having a crack in that. Unfortunately, sometimes it gets in the way of your sim racing commitments, and I don't think he'll be complaining too much. Get an opportunity to go overseas and go race cars, that tends to not get met with much complaint.
Very true. Well, Bewley coming to the end of the lap now. He was pushing quite hard in the middle sector there, and he will have some tow here, but I don't know if this lap's going to be an improvement for him. we'll have to wait and see. Sabo coming back into pit lane meanwhile, and it looks like he's going to get some tyres on potentially for one more hot lap here. They're not going to have much time to get more laps in. Baker up to P2, managing to get some tow in the group ahead. 133.8 for car number 34. Bewley remaining 9th there. It looks like that was actually an improvement on his lap, but it didn't grant him any extra positions. So if you're not coming round to begin your final lap now, I think you're going to be done for qualifying. I don't think we're going to see Sabo or Corbin out there anymore, neither for Josh Lane, Hamish Cleland or Darren Lobb, who's managed to get P20 and has been in the pits for the last 5 minutes. So it's all on now for everyone else. Pressure's on.
But Darren Lobb, I did actually just see a note that was popped in the server of, oh, oops, I forgot. So I think what's happened with him is that he may have been affected by the no tow rule, which basically says that once you tow, your session is over. Gromwald Jr., I've seen him get a lot of off tracks in terms of his qualifying. Just having a quick look in the sim, actually, I can tell you, he's only set 2 valid push laps. So I think his times are not reflective of what he's capable of, and he's going to run out of time here to set another lap. So he's going to have another fight on his hands, but then again, that created some very, very interesting times. Crowson's going to get to the line in the Sigma Sim Sports entry, improved by 5 spots. That's a good lap there from him. What was he able to do for teammate Harding, though? Don't think there was much of an improvement. Baker's also shot back up to P2, so took some time for a number of the drivers there, but able to set representative lap times. But there's a fair few, and a Klemek out of nowhere. That's a lap for Klemek.
Yeah, just saw that myself, up to P5, 133.9. Klemek has been gradually improving over the course of this final series. She really shot up in the championship standings coming out of Homestead with a fantastic drive from, I think, 21st to 11th in one of the races there. And this is setting her up for a great night at Motegi as well. Huge lap there in the dying moments of the session.
Yeah, very, very strong finish there, and claims for Klemek. Her greatest sim racing achievements, making it into this series, is right up there. So that's your one goal achieved realistically. Started sim racing back in 2018. Unfortunately, didn't get a wheel until this year. So she's still learning her way in and around the sim, and with the hands up until that point, racing on a controller. Enjoys thoroughly putting laps around Le Mans, although I think Le Mans in a Toyota 86 is probably not up there. Favorite car in iRacing? Indy Pro 2000. So big open wheel driver, cyan and pink, her favorite colors. I'm really, really happy with that one. And I think that's perfect. I think the big thing about Klemek as well is, again, we're talking about that skill set, has driven very cleanly through the field on every single occasion, always improving. So really, really impressed. And that lap times shows great growth.
Certainly does. Only 0.2 off the pole position time from Antel Sabo. Ewan Baker only getting to within 0.5 of a second. This is still mighty close, despite the times coming down late on in the session, with Harding, Corbin, and Klemek rounding out that top 5. Outside the top 10, Tom Bewley was shuffled out of it, and unfortunately, he'll have to settle for an 11th place start. Hayden Kirk will certainly be wanting to get further up to his teammate Ewan Baker there to continue the championship lead for KSR Speed Nation, with Darren Lobb rounding out that top 20 on lap time. And that's the rest of your field there. We'll be going through the grid in detail in just a few moments, but before we do that, a quick chat once more with Antel Sabo. I think we're going to be talking to you quite a bit tonight, Antel. Pole position for the first race of the night, and it turns out the draft was incredibly important for that.
Definitely, there was a lot of friends within the grid tonight, so I'm just very happy to get that lap together, that's for sure. 0.5 in it. Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very tight tonight. I think it's going to be very hard to shake the guys behind going into this first race, so we'll see how things go.
Yeah, and how are the track limits as well? Because we did see many drivers, including yourself, putting wheels off into the grass, but laps still counting somewhat. Are we going to be seeing quite a bit of lawn mowing here in race 1?
Yeah, it's the type of track where you're really trying to find every edge you can to it. So you're using every little bit of the track. Naturally, you're going to end up on the grass a little bit, and you're nipping it with the wheels. So you're trying to get it turned that way. So With drivers naturally trying to do that, you're going to find a lot of track limits going on here. We'll see if everyone's going to use all of theirs up. We'll try not to, and we'll see how we go.
Absolutely. Going to be a challenging one, Antel. We'll let you get back to your preparations. Congratulations on the pole, and yeah, we'll see where you are at the end.
Thanks, Reese. Cheers, team.
Antel Sabo on pole position for the first race here tonight at the brilliant Mobility Resort Motegi. The grid for the first race will be as follows. Our front row, Antel Sabo and Ewan Baker. Incredibly close here at the very front of the grid. Bryce Harding up into third with James Corbin alongside him in P4. Anna Klemic, one of the stars of qualifying there. Fifth place alongside Arthur Brown. And then we go to Scotty McQueen in seventh, starting alongside Alex Sprague. McQueen will be hoping, along with Baker, for a bit of a better mid-round than last week. Mitchell Sparrow and Tyler Williams will round out your top 10.
Yeah, from there on back, it's going to be Tom Bewley back from Australia and outside the top 10 for him. Leo Duncan is going to be outside of him. On the seventh row of the grid, Josh Lane and Corey Crowson, teammates there assisting their co-drivers to be further up the grid. It's going to be an all Kiwi Sim Racing row number 8 from Hayden Kirk and Justin Davies, although not teammates in terms of the team's championships. Michael Board and Avon Dunn round out row number 9, and your top 20 brought to us finally with Hamish Clellan and Darren Lobb.
Yeah, for Elite Juiced and MRP there with AJ Giddy, one of our Crim Insurance wildcards, alongside Nathan Allen on row 11. Noah Kitcher and Aidan Lamont will start 23rd and 24th. And Jack Gronwald Jr., well, we've gotten used to him carving his way through the field. He's going to have to do it again tonight, starting alongside Taylor Oakes on the 13th row of the grid. Joel Herbert and Aidan Gregory on row 14. Last driver to set a time in qualifying, and the last driver on the grid, the number 26 of James Watson. We'll see what he can do from all the way back there. Race control, of course, at the ready in case anything needs doing out there. And, well, we're seeing drivers gradually filter their way on to the grid here. Still 40 seconds remaining on the grid timer before we can get things going here, Scott. But it's a long run to turn 1. It's downhill as well, so you've got to make sure that your brakes are working properly.
One of the benefits of actually only having 30 cars all on the front straightaway, you have any bigger than 30 cars, you actually start queuing up around the final corner. But yeah, where do you park a medical car race? You park it at the tail end of the field, so race control in the right spot. Good to see they're all prepped for it. Chaos at turn 1. Do we need the medical car? Oh, let's just have it down there and ready to go, shall we? But no, I'm really cool, really excited for Klemic here. Good opportunity. Let's see if Scotty McQueen's learned anything about race starts. Arthur Browan's there and in the mix. There's so many drivers inside that 10. And oh, let's get a GoPro strapped to Gromwald Jr.
Yep, let's go. As the revs start to rise, the Flat 4 Symphony arising into the air above virtual Japan as the green flag flies. And we are away for round 3 of the NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup Finals. Great start from Antel Sabo. He's managed to get some brilliant momentum on the rest of the field. Good to get that gap going early. Baker is going to be forced defensive here as Harding's going to pull alongside him into the braking zone for turn 1. James Corbin almost going 3 wide there with McQueen, Klemic and Browan, who do go 3 wide on the exit of 1. Brown on the inside, McQueen sandwiched in between the two, and they're going to be losing bulk time to everyone else here as they try to stay out of each other's way. McQueen emerges ahead, but they cost themselves half a second in the process.
Yeah, the big thing was Klemic knew that they were 3 wide, still banging doors. Brown 4 wide, cut it to the grass. Here they all come. The bump drafting on the run down to turn number 6 on lap 1. They've nearly lost it. Klemic has spent 60% of its time between turn 1 and here. 3 wide race. I can't believe that. That's bravery. That's commitment. How did they all come out the other side?
Yeah, I'm asking that question myself. Anna's doing a good job here of, keeping her nose in it while not forcing herself into the grass here. It's a miracle she stayed on the racetrack here. But just as I say that, I think I might have cursed her. Anna Klemic getting tipped around there in the right-hander and falling all the way down the field to 22nd place. It is a rough field out there. Everyone wants a piece of that racetrack.
And the big thing for Klemic is that she's just been bullied out of the way constantly. One driver shoves their nose in, another driver shoves their nose in, another driver shoves it. She was just trying to get away back in the line and just never got the opportunity to. That is the nature of lap 1. Remember how I said you got to keep an eye on Gromwald Jr.? Plus 10 spots on lap 1. Plus 10 spots, Reese. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's looking to try and make it plus 11 now here in the back of Justin Davies. He's diving to the inside of turn 1, and he's going to force Davies to give him the space up the inside there, getting a little bit of a hurry up from Darren Lobb as well as they make their way into turn 2. Oh, side by side again through this section of the racetrack. It looks like Gromwald just clearing the two of them to maximize the turn in, but that just goes to show you how much time you can lose. Already Hamish Cleland looking to make moves on Davies and potentially get up to Lobb as well. How things can change in the space of a few corners at this particular racetrack. It's on for third as well. James Corbin pushing Bryce Harding along. They want to try and catch up to Baker, and all of them want to try and catch up to Sabo, who has the lead by a second.
Yeah, well, the big thing is, out of that one, we were talking about Tom Bewley and the return to the series after a week off. 11th place start. I think he was a little bit out of sequence, but the big thing was an aggressive driver able to make time up on lap number 1. Goes from 11th to 6th spot. The big issue for him, Reese, 2 seconds to the car in front. Car in front, Scotty McQueen. McQueen, quick enough driver, getting some draft support. Bewley's tailing the pack along behind him. Sprague capable of speed, capable of moving their way forward, but the problem is they're going to have to be smart. Probably the best thing for Sprague right now is just to sit down and follow along. They're chasing down this pack. Corbin sits in 4th spot. He's right on the rear bumper of Bryce Harding, and this is a huge opportunity for Harding. His best qualifying result of the season so far. He needs to try and maximise this. Job done, number 1. Survive lap 1. Still there, still in the equation. Can he put out a podium at the end of this one?
That is the big question. And we also have to think about the battle for 10th as well. Arthur Brown currently holding on to that 10th spot, but he's getting harassed by Corey Croson. Arthur just taking that position as it looks like Tyler Williams behind them has had a problem coming out of turns 1 and 2. He is dipping all the way down the field in the number 24. Not exactly sure what happened to him, but we have some changes for 8th up there as it looks like maybe a slowdown penalty there for Mitchell Sparrow. Looks like that is the slowdowns here at Motegi truly in action. And Brown, now classified 11th as Mitchell Sparrow, actually made his way through. That's the battle for pole position in race 2.
Well, I'm just having a quick look at Tom Bewley and Alex Sprague at the moment. They were side by side, and Bewley was basically saying to Sprague, if you're going to go down my inside, I'm going to push you all the way across to the edge of the road. He put the serious squeeze on him, and now it's going to be the response from Sprague, who's going to get into the rear end of him. Touch early on the brakes there for Bewley, and Duncan's going to have a go at these guys.
Here we go then, battle for P6 and all the contact between Leo Duncan and Alex Sprague there side by side on the way into the hairpin. Sometimes the outside line is where you want to be, but a little bit squeezed there was Alex Sprague. He will have the slipstream of Bewley, though, to carry all the way down the straight. And Leo Duncan, all on his lonesome. Maybe he can catch a whisper of slipstream now that Bewley moves over to cover him. Bewley's teammate behind as well, keeping Arthur Brown very honest. But the move is complete. Leo Duncan successfully defending from Alex Sprague there. It's tight battles everywhere you look in this field.
Just listening, car 14 and car 24, or I think it was on lap 1, is Josh Lane and Tyler Williams deemed a racing incident. I also watched some overtaking a little bit ahead of these guys as well, and it was actually for 4th, 5th, 6th. What actually happened was that Corbin lined up a little bit of a tow down the main straightaway, and then the rest of the guys all sort of went, yep, that's the best thing that can possibly happen. Bryce Harding let him go through, let him pull him along, and they're sort of playing the swap drafty game, see if they can't sort of pull themselves back a little bit. Ewan Baker's made a little bit of time. He's closer to Sabo, so again, we've got this dogfight that's going to potentially happen up front. Those two guys quite close together on speed, and that little bit of drafting support, that's going to bring them all back together as well. So battle for the lead not over, but it's going to be difficult for Ewan Baker to do much about it. His best bet is being ahead of him in race 2.
Yeah, indeed. Well, keep an eye out on that as keep our eyes peeled on this battle. My goodness, things have really gone off here. In the back end of the top 10, there's Sparrow trying to go for it. Arthur Brown in the midst of it all as well in the 222, getting forced wide by Alex Sprague. And Corey Croson now decides it's his opportunity to try and go for race 2 pole. Baker in the slipstream of Sabo setting the fastest lap of the race, and we've got to keep an eye out for who is the fastest over the course of tonight, because there is an award, an MRP sim racing voucher worth $30 for the driver who is the fastest, who sets the individual fastest lap across the racing. And Baker has won that award both of the previous 2 rounds. Looks like he's going for it again.
I was about to say, it's about the only award Sabo hasn't won thus far. So, yeah, Ewan's trying to keep him honest again, right there and in contention. This one is really, really tough to decide. But again, the big note that's sort of coming out of race 1, Reese, and that run down through the first sector is don't be side by side. If you know that you're going to lose that spot, drop in, because you lose bulk time running side by side in that first sector. That might be one of the things that a few of the guys talk about in between race 1 and race 2. Having a quick look through the information I had on Corey Croson as well. Apparently, he's actually an engineer. COVID lockdown got him right up and into sim racing. Couldn't leave the house. Huge lover of racing. The Sigma boys are apparently one of the best teams out there for the yarns.
Absolutely. They'll have a few more stories to tell after tonight's racing. They've certainly been involved in the thick of the action, as Sabo now decides it's time to go defensive versus Baker, trying to scrub the tyres of Baker and stop that run from happening. But Ewan's still carrying some speed here, coming out of the final corner, and he'll go for the move into turn 1. This is perhaps the first time this season that Sabo has had a true big challenge for the lead of the race here, and Baker is still running side by side through turns 1 and 2. Could it be the outside line that wins here in turn 3? Baker's got the inside for 4, and that'll translate into the lead of the race, but Sabo's going to respond right away.
Yeah, Sabo, big slap of the brakes just before they head into that final chicane. Remember I said you need to drop in? He saw that. They lost 1.3 seconds, Reese. 1.3 seconds to James Corbin through that first run. He is now on the back of them. He's come from outside of 2 seconds, half a second now to the back end of Sabo. We're going to have ourselves a 5-car train at the halfway point of this race. This one is not over for that race lead.
Oh, definitely not. It's going to keep going for as long as you like here, all the way to the end. We have Corbin catching up, followed by Harding and McQueen. And, well, looking a bit further back here, it looks like McQueen's going for it on Harding. They got to be careful not to lose too much time battling side by side here. They don't want to drop off the back of that top 3. This is the opportunity they need to catch up.
And I think that's what you just saw Scotty McQueen do. He recognised we've got to stay in this slipstream draft. Now, either I get the slingshot out of here and I sort of make this impossible for him to cut. No, I really don't like this blocking. And the reason I don't like this blocking is because this ejects them from that queue of cars up ahead. If Harding had followed them out of the last corner and just said to McQueen, hey, take it, I want to have a crack at a podium here, they'd be in with a shot. This fighting is going to cost them major. The leaders are side by side, by the way.
Yeah, Sabo tried to go for it on Ewan Baker, but Baker stands strong and keeps the lead from the number 92. But look at the momentum that James Corbin was carrying through the corner there. Going to catch a little bit of the grass, but he's got the slipstream of both of the leaders now. Baker's starting to move over. They almost made contact on the way down into the next braking zone. This is the closest race we've had yet, and I am loving it.
Issue for Alex Sprague. Excuse me. Alex Sprague, turn 1, lap 7, so something's going on there. He just called that one into race control to have a little bit of a look at. The other thing, Reese, we've got a huge group of cars now from P6 all the way back to about 20 a spot. And there's little breaks in the middle of that as they're starting to squabble for spots. Darren Lobb's about to have a go at Corey Croson. This is for pole for race 2.
Yeah, certainly is. Oh, there's the opportunity potentially for James Corbin. Sabo now the meat in the sandwich, and he's not sure what to do as Scotty McQueen is around in the background. Oh no, I don't know what's going on there for him. Looked like potentially a solo spin, but McQueen has fallen all the way back to 9th, and that's going to be a huge blow to his points here from race 1. Actually, he might have gotten a bit of assistance from that. It was a very late dive on Bryce Harding, and Harding, of course, turned in because he'd already committed to the corner as Baker continues to defend from Sabo here. And then there were 3.
And again, it's just making his intentions clear. He doesn't want to go through this first chicane side by side. The big issue for Ewan Baker, the last couple laps through this complex, he's been offline right here. He's carrying too much speed at turn 3. It puts him offline for 4, and he can't connect the dots, the momentum out here at the end of 5 and for the run down this straight. This is the first time in a couple laps he's gotten the ability to just sort of drop in, settle in. Now the rest of these guys are still going to have to have a look at Corbin, though. Have a look at James Corbin. That's the first time Antel has had somebody flush the lights at him. That's important.
Yeah, very important indeed. Corbin making his intentions clear here. He can see that Baker and Sabo are very involved with each other up the front here as Antel goes for the inside, coming into the left-handers. Baker will defend the position here, or will he? Sabo absolutely firing it into the corner here to maintain momentum around the outside and get the inside for the next corner, but Baker covers him on the way into the turn, and now Corbin is alongside. He's going to try a bit of a switchback, but not able to do it. Sabo parked it on the apex. That little exchange has brought Bryce Harding ever closer.
Yeah, I think Harding's now playing a game of sit back and watch. Have a look at, did you see the nose on Sabo's car just plunge there into the braking zone? He was on the brakes late and hard. And the reason for that is, have you ever heard Mark Scaife in terms of comms when he's talking about cars race each other? Prop a guy up at the apex, prop him up at the apex. Really high level racecraft is not actually about getting the move done when you get the move done. It's about backing a guy up, making him ask questions, and James Corbin's doing the question asking right now.
Yeah, does Sabo have any answer is the question. Ewan Baker getting an absolute mountain of breathing room here as Sabo and Corbin exchange positions there through the opening turns, and Harding now sees an opportunity right on the back of Corbin. Does the opportunity open to the inside, or is Harding going to wait for another opportunity? I think that's very smart driving there from Bryce Harding. He knows that there's going to be some ebb and flow to this battle, and he can't afford to get too involved too early. Otherwise, his chances might come to zero.
Well, the big thing I'm sort of keeping an eye on is Sparrow is about 4.5 seconds back. We're actually about to get a replay come across. And remember how I said that there was some issues down at turn 1 a little bit ago? Well, Chrome Insurance replay, when can you feed this in? Because it's all action bumper to bumper. I believe this is Sprar going to go around off the nose of Corey Croson into turn 1. And that was Josh Lane as well.
Yeah, big avoiding action being taken by the other cars as they came through there as well. Far from ideal. And that's put them all outside the top 10 with very little chance of being able to move further forward. Corey Croson currently leading that battle for 12th, and they've got some 1.7 seconds to Jack Gronwald Jr., who holds on to 11th and is fighting with Darren Lobb and Scotty McQueen. The last 2 places in the top 10 and the front row of race 2.
And the big thing is that, remember we were talking about Croson a couple laps ago, he was in that fight. Croson got ordered, remember the Sprague, that incident we just saw? Croson got ordered by race control to redress the position with Sprague, then he had to go and get it again. So the reason that Croson's not in 10th spot at the moment is because he had to redress those spots. Lobb's got one hand on it at the moment. He's going to be quick here, he's going to be aggressive, but at the moment, he's got to defend from Jack Gronwald Jr. And, well, Scotty McQueen, good luck, mate. You're going to have your mirror full of a whole bunch of angry guys coming at you.
Indeed. I mean, look at all the cars there behind them, as it looks like Harding has lost a bit of time there to Sabo and Baker. He's passed Corbin for 3rd place. I'm not sure exactly what went on there, but that's a significant time loss for the both of them. I just went back and checked. It looks like Corbin was just too late on the brakes and went wide in the hairpin, potentially serving a slowdown. I'm not sure.
Yeah, potentially getting that one out of the way. Either way, he's dropped off the tail end of these guys. That allows them to go at each other a little bit more. And Sabo runs touch wide. The problem for Corbin is that I think he's become a little bit disconnected now from this battle pack. So he's got to be very accurate and very quick.
Yeah, incredibly so. Seeing that race control have given a black flag to Aiden Gregory, and we'll wait for confirmation on what exactly that is for. Maybe take a look at how he got it. But driver running down in 25th place, he's already having a big problem in this race, and that's just another blow that he doesn't need. Keep our eyes peeled on James Corbin, though, as looks like Tyler Williams making up a position there on Nathan Allen, and Aiden Gregory a few seconds behind these guys. Taylor Oakes with the big move of the day there, 22nd, and trying his best to defend here from Williams. There's racing going on wherever you are in this field. You have someone to race with, and we'll see in future if there's any other big moves in that area of the field, but we've got to keep our attention turned to the front here, Scott, because Ewan Baker has protected that lead beautifully from Antel Sabo, but there's going to be 2 laps remaining when they cross the line here. There's still time for Sabo to have a response.
Yeah, I think Sabo might have just overheated those front tyres just a little bit because he's struggling to maintain the pace. So that's that mid-corner turn that he's struggling with a little bit at the moment, so just not quite able to get the car to carry and pivot the way that he necessarily wants. You can again see Harding's in here and he's just sort of hanging on to these guys, and that's the best that he can really do at the moment, but that's serving him extremely well. He's sitting in 3rd spot. He's managed to survive all the opening lap drama that went on, and our top 4, the only 2 that have swapped positions are actually the front 2. Other than that, it's Harding and Corbin were lined up like this in qualifying. Oh, and Sabo just goes and breaks that fastest up of the race. So there was one more that he hadn't won, and he's trying to right that now.
Yeah, certainly is. Well, Aiden Gregory, I mentioned, got the black flag from race control. Thanks to Crem Insurance, we're about to find out why. So this was some time ago. On board here with the number 2, and well, yeah, that's pretty cut and dry for my money. Just missed the braking point, slamming another car off the racetrack. No wonder race control looked at that one.
Yeah, I believe the correct response to that one is should have bought him dinner first, but hey, we'll leave that for the drivers to sort out.
Oh, dearie me. Well, the response is certainly there for Antel Sabo, 133.36, the fastest lap of race 1 thus far, and Ewan Baker is starting to feel that pressure again. He'll be looking in his mirrors and going defensive, sticking middle of the road, unless Sabo finds a way through. Did you see what Sabo did there? He lifted off the brake and then got back on them again to get up the inside of Baker. But Ewan is absolutely raring to go here for this fight for the lead. It's going to be white flag this time by Scott, and our leaders are side by side into the final corner.
Yeah, but just couldn't, again, rotate the car. It was all about rotation there at the final corner. You can hang it around the outside if you can keep the momentum up. Ewan's never. That was the last inside of a corner that he's ever going to see. He's outside of track boundaries right there. He's got 2 wheels outside. He kept 2 in play. The critical factor, Reese, 2 wheels had to stay inside the white line.
Oh, contact on the way through turn 1. Sabo leaning on Baker there, and Ewan will carry the momentum into the corner, but he had to make a correction there. It looks like the rear got away from him potentially, and that might be his chance over, but he'll carry the momentum as much as he can out of this next corner. Sabo immediately breaking the draft. He's gotten the lead, now he has to keep it.
Yeah, he's got it on the run down to turn 6. Laps half over. It was a touch deep in there. You saw the rear end of the car start to activate a little bit more for Sabo. Again, I feel like his fronts are a little bit hotter than Ewan Baker's. Ewan's been quite calm, quite preserving of them. He hasn't had to dive aggressively onto the brakes as hard as Sabo has. He's going to force the cover, though, and that's critical. You force the cover, you're in the game.
Oh, Baker just up the inside there. Sabo offline to give him room, but it doesn't look like there's going to be much of a chance there. He doesn't leave the inside open for Ewan. Well, that could give Baker a chance for the over-under here. Just got to nail the throttle and go for the move. And James Corbin is also a factor in this as well. He's made up a lot of time. Sabo defensive into the final corner, but the door opens to the inside, and Baker might go through there, but it's closed immediately by Antel Sabo. Alongside is James Corbin as the checkered flag comes out, and Sabo is going to come across the line to win the first race here, but a huge challenge in doing so.
Yeah, what a race from all 3, including Harding. All 4. Whoa! Okay,
Whoa.
That was a little bit of a checkup, so I don't think Corbin, there's nothing in that. Corbin just didn't know he was going to jump on the brakes right there. But have a look at this battle pack. How good's the racing been from Motegi, though? Because it's everywhere you look, Reese, up and down the field. This is outside of 15th. And it was still on for it. And the other thing, remember, the biggest thing about racing is we're out here to enjoy things, have a good time. Ewan Baker just jumped up on the radio and said, mate, that was a cracking race. So sportsmanship being shown all round. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That is fantastic stuff from both of our front runners there. Michael Board having a very tough race indeed, having to spend 7 minutes in pit lane. Same for Joel Herbert as well as we go through our race results. Antel Sabo, Ewan Baker and James Corbin will be your podium, with Bryce Harding falling off a little bit on the final lap but still getting fourth ahead of Mitchell Sparrow. Leo Duncan and Arthur Brown fought their way up to 6th and 7th, with Tom Bewley holding on to 8th. McQueen falling to 9th spot, and Darren Lobb rounding out the top 10. Flip those guys, Scott, and that is your top 10 for the start of race 2.
Yeah, Gronwell Jr. not quite able to get back inside that 10. Crowson was hanging on to it for a little while. Unfortunately, 12th spot for the Sigma Sim Sports driver. Alex Sprague, Justin Davies, Josh Lane, Ajay Giddy, Hayden Kirk, Noah Kitcher, Hamish Collin, and Aidan Lamont rounding out your 20.
Avon Dunn coming home 21 seconds back, with Williams, Oakes, Allen and Gregory running at your top 25. Anna Klemek, unfortunately, after starting in the top 5, got absolutely muscled out of the way multiple times in the opening laps, and unfortunately has to settle for 26th ahead of Herbert and Board, who finished 4 and 5 laps down respectively. Well, we are going to bring in Ewan Baker for this one, Scott, have a chat with him and see how his first race went.
Hey, Ewan, you look like you had him out Fox for a little while there, but the thing is with Sabo, you feel like maybe he was biding his time just a little bit, just sort of trying to figure out when to go for the appropriate dive. But look, you guys again traded paint, traded racecraft, traded positions, traded apexes, traded covering. I think you both threw everything you had at each other right there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Great fun. I mean, that's what Toyota 86 racing's about. Obviously, a little disappointed to get Antel getting one over me there, but yeah, guy's got mega pace. He's got great racecraft, and you know with him filling your mirrors, it's like how do you defend? You can go all out defense covering the inside. He's just going to run around the outside of you, vice versa. So he makes it very difficult, and yeah, he played that absolutely perfectly. So well deserved win. But yeah, considering how the season's been a bit up and down for me, I'm very happy to be running up front against him like that, and it's sniff of a win. If things go my way, might be able to snag one. So, eyes forward and head down.
Mate, I think race 2 is been your Achilles heel at the moment. It's cutting your way back through the field. A little bit of a walk away, a little bit of a think back about things. Realistically, I look back at Homestead Miami and I just say, oh, look, mate, it's probably just wrong place, wrong time. Really sticking to that tyre bundle and rejoining the banking was one of the more challenging things to do in the cutting your way through the field. I see this as probably a big opportunity for you. Is there any change in the approach to the reverse grid?
Just keeping my cool is the main thing. I mean, that at Homestead was just a spiraling events of just bit of red mist, bit of poor decision making. Like putting myself there was a bad move. Getting spun wasn't ideal. Overcorrecting and spinning off to the inside, it just went from bad to worse to worse. So yeah, it's gonna be trying to exercise patience, but it's a hard thing to do because I'll have Antel starting behind me and he cuts through like a knife through butter. So it shakes me a little bit when I feel like I'm doing well and he just sides through and clears off. So I just need to keep my cool, run my pace and do what I can and not worry too much about other people.
Mate, I'm going to break out my nerdy side here and really try and get it into it. I think the best words that I've ever heard to describe this situation is aggressive negotiations. And realistically, that's just negotiations with the lightsaber, mate. So do your best impression of a Jedi and show me what you got.
I'll give it my all, and may the force be with me.
Head down, brother. Great approach to it all. Enjoy race number 2.
Cheers.
Nice stuff there from Ewan Baker. We'll let him get his prep done for the start of race 2 here, which is almost upon us. Let's go through that grid once more. Darren Lobb going to be starting on pole position for this one, and Scotty McQueen joining him on the front row, with Tom Bewley and Arthur Brown on row 2. We have Leo Duncan starting 5th alongside Mitchell Sparrow, and then Bryce Harding starting out of 7th with James Corbin alongside. Corbin's going to be trying to fight his way back to the front, and you can say that double for Ewan Baker and Antel Sabo here, who round out our top 10, Scott.
That's it. Outside the 10, the guys unlucky enough to get an invert. Jack Cromwell Jr. gained 14 spots in race number 1. Crowson to his outside. Sprague a little bit of biff and barge with Crowson. Keep your eyes on that one. Justin Davies alongside of him. Out of row number 8, it's going to be Josh Lane, who again was caught up in that one. Ajay Giddy to 16th. 17th and 18th is going to be that of Hayden Kirk and Noah Kitcher. And finally rounding out the 20, Hamish Clelland and Ada Lamont.
Starting out of 21st, Avon Dunn with Tyler Williams alongside. Then we have Taylor Oakes and Nathan Allen on your 12th row. Aiden Gregory getting a black flag in the first race. Going to be starting alongside Anna Klemick, both of them wanting to make their way forward here in race 2, with Joel Herbert and Michael Board rounding out our field here. James Watson did not take to the start in race 1. I don't know if we're going to be seeing him here in race 2 either, so we shall see how the finishing order is when the next 16 laps around Mobility Resort Motegi are over. This is the longest race of the night, and so it does require a little bit of moderation of your aggression. As Scott said, you do have to think about aggressive negotiations, but maybe think about the long term a little more. We'll find out how the short term goes here when the crush comes into the first corner here on lap 1. Revs rising once again with Darren Lobb here at the point on the front row. Green flag flies and away they roll. That is a poor start there from Arthur Brown. It looks like he had the pit limiter on. The pit limiter still on briefly there for Arthur, and he is going to slip down the order already outside the top 10, as now there's 4 wide between Sabo, Harding and Corbin, and goodness me, up the inside goes Mitchell Sparrow in the midst of all of that. Lobb holding on to the lead with McQueen challenging, and Tom Bewley in the top 3 too. This is crazy already.
Yeah, and Ewan Baker got given a little bit of a reprieve. Bad start for him. But all of a sudden, there, the back-off car takes to the runoff area. It's going to scatter kitty litter everywhere. Who was the driver on the left-hand side? It was Bewley, the Porsche Cup entry. And now they'll try and make their way back through. But have a look at Harding. He has made a bank of spots. He started so far back, but he's already to 3rd.
Yeah, it's a brilliant start from Bryce Harding, avoiding the worst of what went on there. McQueen made contact with Tom Bewley there and sent him off the circuit. Bewley had to take the slowdown, and so now he rounds out this pack here for 6th and 7th, but he's already finding his way past James Corbin, muscling his way past a bit, but Corbin gives him a return serve, and that's caught up Ewan Baker, and also I think that might be Gronwald that's caught him up there too.
Yeah, Ewan Baker's managed to gather it back up. He's on the outside at the moment of Crowson. Just worried about a little bit of damage to that race car. Looks okay. The big thing is both Baker and Sabo are still running with no damage at the moment, but Baker's finally managed to get the drop on a few guys here and actually managed to cut his way through. That was aggressive on lap number 1. And you know what? I reckon actually Sabo's lost spots on lap number 1. He sits 12th. So first time he's actually lost spots.
Yeah, it was a very difficult first lap there for many drivers. I think this is the first time this season that we've really seen our front starters really struggle to find their way through. Well, Sabo's going to try and get 11th spot from Josh Lane here. He'll have the inside for turn 2 and be able to complete the move there. First of many positions that he has to make up to catch up to Darren Lobb, who leads the way by 1.4 seconds. Bryce Harding now trying to go for 2nd here. Mitchell Sparrow holding onto that P2 spot. Leo Duncan and Scotty McQueen still right with him. And then there's the huge pack. James Corbin all the way back to Aiden Gregory in 26th place. That's how big this fight is.
Yeah, it covers 21 cars. 6 to 26 is 21 cars, by the way. The other thing was, going through those chicanes on this current lap, there was so much junk on the road. Grass, kitty litter, you name it, was all out there. Crowson's run a little bit deep, trying to run around the outside of James Corbin as they entered turn number 8. That gave him priority at 9. Have a look at the kitty litter on the run to 10.
So much gravel on the racetrack. And that's going to compromise the grip of quite a few of these drivers. Ewan Baker now with a clear run on the way into the final turn here. But Corbin and Crowson still very much involved with each other. Baker will get the slipstream and See what he can do down at turn 1, but you know, if I'm in the middle of a situation like this, I'm thinking, God, what's everyone behind me gonna do? Because Arthur Brown, Alex Sprague, and Antel Sabo are charging up to the back of Baker right now. Slight cover there by Croson as Baker tried to go for the move at the first turn.
He's deep at turn 1, very, very deep. He's out and on the grass. He's actually got alongside of Corbin, but he's going to be offline for the tip-in, and Ewan Baker just says, yep, that's a freebie. I'll take that one. Where's he going to feed back in? Covers off Sabo just a little bit. So now these guys are going to run side by side through the chicane. Can he finally get a little bit of the momentum back? Yes, he can for Croson. So he lost a bulk load of spots right there, all from running a touch seat. That came from looking in his rearview mirror. He was too worried about defending, didn't pull it up for the corner.
Yeah, worst time for that to happen there for the number 10 of Corey Croson, and Sabo has found his way into the top 10 as a result. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's going to be much further forward going for him, because the gap that the top 5 have gotten over everyone else is huge. As off again goes Corey Croson. Contact with Josh Lane into the sweepers.
Yeah, he's just going to find a way to feed himself back in. So something. Remember what we just talked about with Ewan Baker? And he said, look, keep him a level head. I reckon Croson's a little bit on tilt at the moment. And I'm not going to say it's red mist. I think it's on tilt because, you know, when you're aggressive and look at the swapping back and forth of all these guys as well, deeper in the field, it's you throw moves that you normally wouldn't make, but when you're on tilt, you can't get yourself situated back into the car and you can't pick up your braking markers, and that's the difficulty. These guys are just going for it hammer and tong right the way through the field too.
Yeah, it's massive fighting, so massive that we completely missed what happened to Tom Bewley some time ago. He's actually been in the pits now for 3.5 minutes, and Jack Gronwald Jr. has pulled into pit lane as well, gathering some damage on the opening laps. So already some racers that we were hoping would finish high up. Race 2 is not going to work out for them. Well, Mitchell Sparrow has caught up to the back of Darren Lobb for the race lead, and he has dragged Harding, Duncan, and McQueen with him. And Leo almost having a look there at Harding into the turn 5 hairpin, or turn 6. I still haven't quite gotten my corner numbers for this racetrack sorted out. What is for sure, though, is that looks like McQueen and Duncan falling off the back of that fight there, side by side into the sweepers. And this is a similar situation to what we saw in race 1. They run side by side, they lose bulk time to everyone ahead.
Yeah, and that's the risk that you run, but Duncan really wanted to get aggressive there and try and complete the pass. Looks like he's managed to do that one. They will hang on, just keeping an eye on Ewan Baker. Baker's made up bulk time as a result of that one. Started the lap way over 4 seconds back from the next back up ahead. So they've got to make some decisions. And I think what you're seeing from Darren Lobb is that was him just going, right, I'm not the right car to lead this pack. I'm going to do what I can to support.
Yeah, fair enough too. Darren Lobb, one of the wildcard drivers here, as you've said in previous rounds, got a very comprehensive real-world racing history, mostly in South Africa. And we'll see what he can do to keep himself in the midst of this lead battle, because now Sparrow has the pressure on him to punch the hole in the air for everyone else and lead the way. It's going to be up to him to not lose too much time, because they're going to have that pack headed up by Baker and Brown chasing them down. Sabo's made up another position as well. He's up into 9th finally. Got past Alex Sprague into the first turn there.
But the issue for Sabo is that now he's become disconnected from Baker and Brown, so they're actually already starting to make time towards that lead pack, but they're not necessarily dropping Sabo, but Sabo's not making any time on them. Track temp also, you were talking about it being a critical factor earlier, was in the low 40s. We are now way up in the high 40s. 48 degrees Celsius at the moment means these cars are going to be a lot more skatey on that racing surface.
They certainly are, but I think it may be a blessing in disguise depending on what you find irritable about the handling of this car. We've talked at length about how light the rear end is on these GR86 Cup cars, and one of the effects of high track temperature, especially in iRacing, is that it induces understeer. So maybe the car feels a bit more balanced, but you still got to manage those temps. What's happened?
We've got a car with a wheel off. It's Taylor Oakes, and he's underneath the bridge after turn 6. So we do have ourselves the entry of the BMW M2, and this lead group would be sitting there and going, come on, no, we just built a gap. We built a 4-second margin. It was going to take them a long, long time to cut them their way back to us. And Baker and Sabo just sit there, they lick their lips, and they go, right on, we're back in this one.
Yep, safety car out, and looks like Aidan Gregory may or may not have another appointment with the stewards, considering what caused that incident. He was actually the car that made contact with Taylor Oakes on the way into the final corner at the end of the 5th lap there, and Oakes was hit wide and went into Joel Herbert. We are going to get a view of that now, as we say thanks once again to Cream Insurance for their extensive sponsorship of this series. Coming out of the S's, there was plenty of battling going on here, but yeah, it looks pretty cut and dry there. I think Aidan Gregory, trying to get the move done, anticipated that Oakes would leave the door open, but he didn't.
The thing is that Oakes sort of made a couple. That's some awkward moves in the defensive zone as well. So it looked cut and dry, but I can understand why he thought that a hole was going to open, because the car was sort of. Oakes was trying to throw a move at the same time as be defensive, and he just wasn't certain with what he's doing about the car, and that's effectively what's triggered that one. That's just aggressive racing, and at the same time, you can understand that they're both trying to be aggressive, and yeah, it is what it is. Look, I reckon our replay computer at the moment is probably about to go to a meltdown. We've got a safety car. That's a great opportunity to have a look at some replays that we've been throughout the race, but good luck trying to catch them all and cue them all up, because there's so much that's going on in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel for Joel Herbert the most out of that incident. He didn't do anything wrong there. He was maintaining his line, and both Oakes and Gregory were probably thinking, oh, we can get to the inside of him. There was just a miscommunication between those two, and Joel Herbert ended up getting slammed as Oakes slid out of control across the inside of the apex. Just a real shame there. But now we have our opportunity for the field to get settled once more. It will be a single file restart for the race here, coming on to the start of lap 7. And, well, the top 5 had a massive gap to everyone, and that gap has been completely eliminated. I think this is going to help Scotty McQueen out again, because remember, he lost all of that time with Leo Duncan before the safety car came out. They can get right back into it now.
Yeah, good opportunity for them, absolutely. But yeah, this is where playing it smart's really, really important, and have a think about who's in that top 5 right now. One of the big ones that sort of goes through my brain is actually Darren Lobb as well. So race control actually just said, we've just given an opportunity for a car with an incident to redress on a safety car, which is them just going, all right, well, look, you can either cop a penalty or you can give a spot back up right now. But most importantly, for the drivers, viewers watching along at home, there is so many moments that go on in each one of these rounds, and every single round we give you 3 drivers that we give you guys at home the opportunity to vote on driver of the day, the top performer, as we're calling it over here, proudly brought to you by Moser Racing. Today, Antel Sabo made the option to go for the new shifter coming out of Moser Racing. Next round, somebody new is going to go ahead and win that one. How do you vote for that? You get on over to the NZ Sim Racing TV Facebook page. You can leave yourself a reaction. You can leave yourself, I believe what we've been using is the love, the care, and the like emotes to sort of vote on your driver of the day. They all get tallied up at the end of the week, and we pick ourselves a top performer. But it's about viewer interaction, and that I love, giving the fans at home the opportunities to actually interact and say who they really appreciated the exploits of.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's great to get the viewers involved here. Sim racing, of course, is still very much a growing sector of motor racing as a whole, and it's fantastic to get that support online here, as the safety car is going to be coming in at the end of this lap. It's already pulled away from the field, and Mitchell Sparrow will control the order of running here. Safety car into the pits, and he's already away on the way into the final corner here, and well, time will tell if that was the right decision to make.
Yeah, gonna jump nice and early, but the big thing I think about that one is he's absolutely caught them napping at the moment. now here's a huge opportunity. Sabo, he's immediately trying to send some messages, and well, Corbin says, well, if he's going to do it, I'm going to get involved.
Yep, on the headlight flash. No moves into turn 1 in the top 10 at least, but I'm sure that will change very shortly. Ewan Baker still holding on to 6th spot. This has been a massive opportunity for him, this safety car. He was a few seconds behind the top 5 when the safety car came out and had no chance of getting any slipstream. Well, now he has the rear end of Scotty McQueen to stare at and get that draft as Sabo makes up a position, getting up into 8th. James Corbin forced to go wide through the hairpin and lose another spot to Alex Sprague there. Didn't work out very well for the number 7.
He's got slow down. That's why he's jumping out of the way. He's got a slow down penalty going through that first chicane, because you wouldn't jump that far off the line unless you had an issue. But this is him also trying to serve the slow down penalty. The thing is, race car drivers, they never want to give up time, and they want to absolutely hang on to the spots as best as they possibly can. Look at everyone just running a touch wide. Remember, tyres would have cooled off just a fraction as well. Corbin immediately back on the lunge, by the way. Back inside the top 10. He was on the out of it for a few moments. That's that car right there.
Yep, and he gets forced outside the top 10 again with just a little bit of a gap that Justin Davies has managed to get on him. Inside for the final corner. Corbin will have to yield there and have another opportunity at turn 1. But look at how he straightens it up on the exit. That's what we were talking about in the lead up to the event, being able to set up the exit out of this final hairpin. And the door just about opens to the inside there. He's going to have to take to the grass here, only just, as Justin Davies leaves him the space on the way into the first corner. Corbin checks the mirrors and slots back in. Hamish Cleland now enters the fight, and he's dragging Ajay Giddy, Tyler Williams, and Noah Kitcher with him.
Didn't that just look a little bit like some narrow back alley streets in the middle of Auckland, by the way, as well? Wing mirrors leaning on wing mirrors. There was a few cars out there that probably would be expecting to have insurance information left on their hoods because they were racing that close. Oh, boy.
Ewan Baker trying to get past Scotty McQueen there, but McQueen covered him off. And evidently not as much overlap as Baker would have wanted. And now falling under attack from Arthur Brown and Antel Sabo. Brown diving towards the apex there, as it looked like McQueen was a little bit wide up ahead. That'll give Baker another chance once more. Keeps falling into his hands here, this gap. Brown, I'm not too sure what he's doing here. Is he focusing on trying to psych out Baker, or is he defending from Sabo?
No, it's absolutely defense. He's really, really aggressively covering Sabo. He's saying, right, you're coming at me, then you got to make sure that you get it done properly. And all that's done is allowed Sprague to dive up the inside. I wonder whether or not Sabo actually might have had a slowdown penalty there, which might have triggered all of that one. So that might have been what that was all about. Either way, Sprague gets a move done on Sabo. Well, that one might go on the shelf.
Yeah, Sabo was saying in his chats with us beforehand, he was expecting this to be a tough one. I certainly didn't expect him to still be fighting to get inside the top 7 here with just 7 laps to go in race 2, as Cleland and Davies will make their exchanges through the opening corners here. AJ Giddy in the 010, another one of our Cream Insurance wildcards there from the real-life racing world. And certainly giving a big test to these drivers. Tell you what, I have to shout out Mitchell Sparrow as well in the lead of the race. He's managed to hold on to an incredible gap here over Darren Lobb. It's out to 0.8 of a second, and everyone else behind is too busy fighting with each other to really make a move on him.
But therein lies the biggest benefit of being the leader. You're not trying to dive anybody for a move. The only thing you've got to really worry about is defense. If the guy behind you has somebody having a crack at him, all of a sudden you can stretch a few car lengths. A few car lengths becomes a few car lengths more, becomes, well, see you later. This one's all over. 10 laps into this one, about to tick that 10th lap off and out of the way, means we'll have 6 laps left to run. 6 by 3.4 kilometres is going to be nigh on 20 Ks here, Reese. 20 Ks and 400 metres. That's what we got left to us.
Yeah, we certainly have. 6 laps remain, and at the start-finish line, Mitchell Sparrow's lead still hovering around 0.8 of a second. The fastest lap going to Antel Sabo on that lap, 1:33.8. That, I think, is not quite as far as we got in race 1. as side by side between Cleland and Davies again, and AJ Giddy decides the outside line is the way to go. Maybe a bit of grass in the midst of it as well. Has to cover off Noah Kitcher, Tyler Williams, and Hayden Kirk. The battle outside the top 10 is immense.
But did you see the amount of dirt and dust up outside that turn one? They're all running wide, and there's no grass left out there anymore. They've burned it back to the dirt. So, effectively, I reckon our Japanese caretakers of the grounds in here and around Mobility Resort Motegi, a few bills to be handing out to the race cars, but therein lies the joys of looking after a beautiful racetrack.
Indeed, and a very beautiful, well-maintained facility here at Motegi as Giddy covers Kitcher through the flat-out left-hander, still side-by-side between Davies and Cleland in the battle for 11th place. This is just great racing, and this is what we love about the GR86 Cup. This spec series style racing with slower cars, not much power, but plenty of handling, it produces fantastic action.
It certainly does, and again, it's all about the driver. What is the goal of spec racing series is generally with Porsche Cup cars, 86s, you're taking all the adjustment or as many tools away from the differences of the cars. There's still some engineering in there, and contact. The dive back underneath, unfortunately, for Ajay Giddy is going to take some contact from Noah Kitcher.
Yeah, and they both fall outside of the top 15 as a result. 17th and 18th now, as it looks like Justin Davies is still under attack from Cleland. There's racing going on between Crowson and Kirk coming into turn one as well. Battle for 13th place. Anna Klemick making up a great recovery from the awful luck that she had in race one. See if she can try and break into lucky 13th.
What have you done to her? What have you done to her? If she ends up in a bingle right here, Reese, she's going to have a bill sent your way, I reckon, for a damaged Toyota 86. Good thing. Those are free on iRacer.
Yeah, indeed. The 86 part of the base content on the iRacing simulation. So if you're watching and you're interested in getting into iRacing, this is one of the first cars that you'll be able to drive. Well, Klemick going to go for 14th here. It looks like Corey Crowson and Hayden Kirk have finally gotten some space between them there. Kirk will defend successfully, and they'll find their way through again to the next braking zone. I don't think there's going to be much of a dive here from Klemick, as Kirk is certainly looking to defend that position there. Oh man, wherever you look, we're waiting for it's like waiting for a powder keg to explode here. You know, the top six, they're all running in a line. You have Brown, Sabo, and Sprague trying to catch up to them. It's got to go off at some point, surely.
Well, the big thing is track temps now crested 50 Celsius. So again, tyres are starting to go away from each other. So the big issue is you haven't got the same grip that you had necessarily before. And sometimes a swing of, we're looking at 8 to 10 degrees realistically in terms of track temperature, that'll take a car's balance and performance away from some of the drivers. So they are duking it out. This margin for the race lead has come back down to a couple tenths of a second, but Sparrow's got control of it at the moment. The big thing, Reese, they just can't make margins. Sabo's managed to get his way by Sprague, though.
Yeah, only just side by side into the final corner here. And Sprague will yield. Sorry, it's not the final corner. The profile of those corners on entry really trips me up, but in any case, it will be the three-way battle for 7th place that continues all the way to the end here. Unless there's another safety car, I don't think there's much chance of them catching up to the top 6.
Yeah, unfortunately, which means that we're going to have to see some overtaking once again in the third and final race of the evening, which is the shortest of the evening as well. So now that this is starting to get a lot tighter up towards the front, and you know that chasing pack's not really going to make time, Ewan Baker looks in his rear view. He's got 3 seconds to his name. Does he try for a crack at the top 5, or does he wait for these guys ahead of him to get a little bit aggressive? Because, well, Lob's gotten a little bit closer to Sparrow. They've gotten a little bit tracked down by Bryce Harding. I tell you what, Bryce Harding at the moment, he could be on for a round win in terms of points. He's had a great night here. So we've finally seen the chinks in the armour from Sabo. But the thing is, Reese, when we see a chink in the armour, he hasn't been that far back. He hasn't lost bulk points. He's only lost a couple points here and there. Whereas if you look at the round 2 for a lot of that top 10, there was big margins that they lost, and Baker had a crack. And again, out of shape a little bit as he cuts his way through the first chicane.
Indeed. Oh, here we go. Is there some kind of response that Darren Lobb's going to have here over Mitchell Sparrow? Sparrow has been one of the fastest, most consistent competitors here. Luck hasn't fallen his way, but he's certainly got the pace to be successful in this series, and he's potentially on his way to his first race win of the season here. Touch wood, hopefully things go off cleanly for this now top 5, as Ewan Baker unfortunately has lost time to Scotty McQueen there. He and Sabo both on their own and unlikely to really make an impression unless the powder keg finally goes off here in the battle between 1st and 5th places. Lob focusing hard there on the Zoom feed. He's got, oh, that's interesting. It looks like he's got maps of the Fakisa Freeway circuit in, what country is it in? I can't quite remember, but it is in Africa. And well, he's certainly carrying a lot of his racing history through there. Let's see what Lob can do here at turn 1. 2 laps to go.
Yeah, it's Fakisa Freeways out of South Africa. There you go, Reese. So whilst you're on the pause, I'm in the background doing some quick Googling. Just a little bit of information on Mitch Sparrow. I mean, he's leading the way, but I think deservingly so. He's a national karting champion out of New Zealand. He's also won New Zealand V8 Supercar Series on the sim as well. So very talented driver, still cutting his way through and cutting his teeth as well. Works at Mackenzie Motorsports as well as still racing whenever he can. Loves enjoying some time with the boys he works with. So very, very lucky. Here goes the first lunge by Baker.
Oh, Baker and McQueen have certainly come to blows in previous rounds, and this round is no different. Baker unsuccessful in getting by there, McQueen having to take to the grass to avoid an incident, and now they're both going to lose a little bit more touch with the top 4, but they're staying in it here. All it would take is a little bit more slipstream and staying out of each other's way until they're clear, and they could be still on for a podium here. Harding having to tap the brakes a bit early there, as Lob didn't have as much momentum as Harding would have liked.
Yeah, Leo Duncan starting to really creep up on the back bumper now of Bryce Harding. Can't quite get there, but getting closer again. A little bit of a check. Harding tries to fake something down the inside. He's doing whatever he can to try and interrupt the momentum of Darren Lobb, and all he's done is actually check his own momentum. Now he's going to force Leo Duncan to chase him all the way to the right-hand side of the racetrack. Final lap, white flag in the air, Reese. Here we go, 3.4 Ks and time's running out.
Now, Bryce Harding wants desperately to hold on to that podium as Baker has another look at McQueen behind. Problem is, he may very well lose touch with Lob and Sparrow if he keeps that kind of defense up. It's such a difficult decision to make as a driver. Do you try and consolidate the position you have, or try and go for more while leaving yourself open to an attack from behind? Well, for now, Bryce Harding is free of Leo Duncan and will carry the slipstream here. It's Darren Lobb. Oh, I could sense maybe he was trying to go for a move there at the hairpin, but he elects to stay behind for now. It's going to be a dive at the final couple of corners here if Lobb wants to win this one.
Sabo's making time on these guys, but he's going to run out of time. We're more than halfway over with the final lap. Up to the S's, then the braking zone at 10, then the braking zone at the final corner. That's all we've got left to us on the 16th of 16 laps in race number 2. We'll have a third and final race to come your way. And Lob had a look, but not able to do anything about it as they enter the penultimate corner.
Mitchell Sparrow still holds on to the lead here. Can Mackenzie Motorsport finally get their first win of the season, which has been dominated by MRP Racing and Vermilion Esports with Antel Sabo at the wheel? Well, out of the final corner they'll come, and the power is down for Mitchell Sparrow. Lob going to chase him all the way to the line, but it is going to be the number 71 of Mitchell Sparrow that crosses the line in first place, finally on the top step of the podium. Well done.
Yeah, what a cracking battle throughout that top 6. As the track temperature started to climb, the ability for those cars to go side by side just got taken away. And it was Sparrow that got his nose to the point at the right time. Remember, Darren Lobb lifted and gave him that position. Does he regret that, I wonder?
Yeah, I wonder myself. Well, regardless, he's gotten a fantastic second place out of it after starting race 1 all the way back in 20th, working his way up to 10th, and then starting on pole for race 2. It's been a great climb up from Darren Lobb. Josh Lane Being one of the final cars to cross the line there. That's your top 10. Only a tenth or so in it between Sparrow and Lob, with Bryce Harding getting that podium. It's been a very consistent run of results from Harding's thus far tonight. We'll see if he can maintain that in race 3. Leo Duncan and Scotty McQueen rounding out your top 5. Ewan Baker, Antel Sabo, Alex Sprague, Arthur Brown, and James Corbin rounding out your top 10, with Cleland finishing just outside there in 11th. He was battling with Justin Davies all the way through that race. You could barely separate them at all. Corey Crowson, lucky 13th, with Williams, Kirk, and Klemick rounding out your top 16 there. AJ Giddy could have been a top 10 for him, but an incident put him out of that one in contact with Noah Kitcher, who finishes 18th behind. Allen and Herbert, your top 20. And then moving through to Aidan Gregory, who finished almost 30 seconds back from the lead. Josh Lane and Aidan Lamont, your last finishers on the lead lap. Unfortunately, we saw retirements from Michael Board, Avon Dunn, Taylor Oakes, and Jack Gronwald Jr. and Tom Bewley as well. In fact, Bewley did not take to the start of race 2. That's pretty significant there. And, well, we'll see if there's going to be some kind of recovery from any of those drivers when we get into race 3.
Boy, I'll tell you what, Reese, I love, I said it before, but I do love reverse grid racing because, again, it's just a different skill set. It says to you, yes, you're going to have drivers in front of you that are potentially slower than you, but you've got to cut your way through. But the difficulty of the Toyota 86 package is that it's so even right across the board. It challenges you. You've got to pick off moves on the opening lap. You've got to be aggressive. And look, I've got to be honest with you, Ewan Baker, he said he was going to come out and have a crack at with that one with a new mindset. Well, maybe could have been a few further spots up, yes, but he put points on the board, and I think that's what his mindset was all about, and that's what he was targeting. So, hey, he'll take it. Notes, points and notes back in the book. And the big one that he's really got to keep an eye on is, remember coming into the start of the round, Alex Sprague and Mitchell Sabo were the two drivers that were ahead of him. Well, Sparrow won that race, but finished towards the back end of the top 10 in the first race. Well, now he's got to get by him in race number 3, whereas Sprague's had a shocking night. He's had contact and things not go his way. So that is championship gains, I would say, for Ewan Baker overall.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it works out for him in race 3 here. One more race to go of 10 laps at Mobility Resort Motegi, round 3 of the NZ Toyota 86E Cup. A quick break, see some words from our sponsors, and we'll be bringing you that final race very soon.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Race number 3 about to come your way from round 3 of the New Zealand Toyota 86 Cup. And we got an opportunity to have a chat to a few of the drivers who have been participating here tonight. Finally, we're going to get some fresh blood into the commentary box. Bryce Harding, has had a very quick and very consistent couple of races. Qualified in 4th spot before opening race, finished in 4th spot, finished in 3rd spot in race number 2. Altogether, mate, nice and consistent couple of races right across the board. What's the goal for race number 3 here?
Just going to try and keep it clean, really. I've qualified pretty bad in the round so far, and that's put me in the middle of the fighters, I guess we'll call them, right in the middle of the mid-pack, and I've had some pretty bad luck, so qualifying up front is the goal for this week, and hopefully enjoy some clean racing, and it has been. Up front, it's been really good, so hopefully to keep my nose clean and see what happens.
Mate, it's been an interesting old couple of weeks right across the series. I think the biggest thing is that, we're given a car and given a package that's even across the board. It's difficult to get those overtakes done. You've got to find an advantage. I think one of the biggest things that we're seeing from quite a few drivers is that race smart. Slot in when you recognise you're not fast when the guy gets down to your inside. It looks like you've been sort of taking that mindset here tonight and a little bit of a change up.
Yeah, I think you have to. Especially when you're running third. I guess maybe when you're running second, you've got more of an opportunity because the car in front doesn't have the advantage of the draft. So in that one, when I was running third behind Darren, he had the Sparrow's draft. So if he didn't have a draft, maybe I'd have an opportunity there. But yeah, I really was waiting on him to make a mistake, which obviously he didn't do. At least not a big enough one that I could capitalise on. So you kind of just got to play it smart. And a couple of times I did have a bit of a look, and then I was immediately defending on the back of that because the car behind me, I obviously slowed up, and then they were having a stab. So you kind of just got to play that smart and hope you can do it right.
Look out the front windscreen and look through the rearview mirror at the same time, mate. Look, sometimes you get called 4 eyes before wearing a pair of glasses. I get the feeling in these things you want 4 eyes because you need to have them looking all over.
Oh, definitely. Yep. No, I'm used to looking in the mirror as well. Yep. No, I like a bit of defensive driving. That's what it's all about.
Mate, congratulations on the finishes thus far. Good luck in race number 3. Go get them.
Awesome. Cheers, guys.
Righto, Reese Gardner is going to be sitting alongside our second interview for this one. We've got ourselves race 2 winner, Mitchell Sparrow.
We have indeed. Great result in the second race there, Mitchell. And I tell you what, it was a big battle between yourself and Darren Lobb at the start there. And Lobb letting you by, but you were able to hold on to that gap. I guess having the luxury of the racing line all to yourself was a big boon there.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Lobby made it pretty easy for me to get into the lead and do my own thing there. It's actually really cool to race Darren. We used to be teammates a couple of years back, and he actually taught me a lot that I know. So, yeah, obviously a big shout out to him for that. But yeah, it made it pretty easy for me, and I just got into my routine, did my thing. Safety car wasn't really what I wanted, but it didn't really have a choice. It came out, and that's what it was. And then everything cooled down, and I just overheated the tyre after the restart, so didn't quite have the pace that I've shown for the start of the night, but we'll learn from that. Same as the other week, I did the same thing in race 1 the other week, so we learn from both situations and try and be better in the next one off pole.
Indeed. Well, you're going to be starting on pole position for the third and final race. Only 10 laps on the cards for this one. What's your plan?
Get off the line, walk it away, really nice. If I have to cover into turn 1 and play it smart, I'll do that. But I know that Lobby or Darren himself will kind of go with me for the first probably 3 or 4 laps, and then we'll battle out at the end. So yeah, no real plan, just race the race that gets put in front of me. Luckily it's only 10 laps because yeah, I don't do good in the long races. Start sweating up and stressing and everything else, and yeah, so we'll just take a big deep breath when the lights come on and see how we go.
Excellent stuff. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Mitchell. We'll let you get prepped for the third and final race here tonight. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Just a big shout out to my whole team. Arthur, AJ, Aiden, Tom, everyone else behind the scenes. Obviously the cars look awesome thanks to Aiden, and hopefully they pop on stream really well, and hopefully they're fast in the last race and the boys can move through the pack and we can get the job done. But yeah, thanks team.
And thank you to Mitchell Sparrow for joining us there from Mackenzie Motorsport. It is time for our final race of the night here, and the grid being as follows from the results of race 2. Sparrow and Lobby a front row, with Harding and Duncan starting on row 2. Scotty McQueen and Ewan Baker will round out your top 6, and we have Antel Sabo starting out as 7th. He didn't quite charge forward as much as we expected in race 2. He'll be a lot more aggressive here. Alex Sprague alongside him. Arthur Brown and James Corbin round out your top 10.
Yeah, from over there, it's Hamish Cleland who managed to cut his way through the field. Justin Davies is also alongside of him. 13th and 14th is going to be that of Corey Croson and Tyler Williams. 15th and 16th, 8th row of the grid. Hayden Kirk and Anna Clement cut her way back to 16th after being back down to the end of the field. Ajay Giddy and Noah Kitcher, they traded blows in race number 2. Keep an eye on those guys starting alongside each other once again. Nathan Allen, Joel Hobart, round out your top 20.
21st place is Aidan Gregory, with Josh Lane falling back in race 2, wanting him to make a recovery from that. Aidan Lamont and Michael Board rounding out the 12th row. Avon Dunn and Taylor Oakes, they didn't make it to the finish along with Board. Them and Jack Ronwald Jr. behind them will want to make their way forward and avoid the inevitable carnage in this very short final race. Gridding time has been extended a little bit to allow Arthur Brown to reconnect to the race server. Apparently he had to restart iRacing. Not quite sure why, but good to see that Race Controller wanting to get as many people on the grid as possible for this final race here, Scott. Still waiting for a lot of drivers to filter onto this grid. It's going to be massive. The standings coming into this final race. It looks like Antel Sabo still holding on to the championship lead, but Mitchell Sparrow is certainly rounding up on him.
Yeah, and that's not a name that necessarily jumped out at the start of this championship either. This is one that sort of snuck up on us a little bit. So, yeah, a really, really good job by him. They're all starting to close that mark. And have a look at Baker and Duncan, both on 225 points. We talked Sprague, not a strong result here tonight. He slipped out of that one, was inside your top 3 coming into tonight. So a lot of moving and shaking. Have a look at Bryce Harding. That couple of results shoots him up the championship standings.
Yeah, certainly does. Brilliant stuff from many drivers here tonight. Well, everyone filing onto the grid now and getting ready for the start. Just 10 seconds remaining on the grid timer. It's going to be Mitchell Sparrow versus Darren Lobb, but if what Sparrow said is anything to go by, they're going to try and keep it clean there at the front on their way into turn 1. Remains to be seen what the rest of the field's going to think about that here, as the revs rise and we get ready for 10 more laps here at Mobility Resort Motegi. And the flag drops. We are away. Barely any smoke being thrown up at all. Lobb getting a much better start than Sparrow, and Harding getting a better start than the both of them. Look at Sabo as well, alongside both McQueen and Baker on the way into the first turn there. Leo Duncan protecting the inside as they're 3 wide for the lead into turn 1. That's a big send there from both of our top 2, but Lobb's going to lead the way out of it. Sabo recovering back onto the racetrack there and still having to negotiate side by side. Look at the moves that Antel is making here. He's up to 5th now.
Yeah, but he's still side by side with Baker, and Baker's going to be on the outside. They tangle, they touch, they lean on each other a little bit, and through goes Alex Sprague. Will pick off the both of them. How about the start from him? Scotty McQueen's going to come back at the pair of them again. More paint traded.
Oh, this is going to be difficult into the hairpin here. Baker keeping it tight to the apex. Sabo almost losing it there. Contact, and Sabo's forced off the racetrack. He won't be happy about that. Losing another spot there to James Corbin. Sabo had some great momentum in the opening corners, but the rest of the lap is not going his way.
No, again, losing a couple spots. So Baker's back ahead of him. Corbin's picked their pockets. How was the move from Sprague, though? Cuts his way through. We mentioned needs a strong finish here. He cuts his way to 5th. And have a look at the top pack. They're all changing places. Lobb has lost spots. He's back down to 4th at the moment, but he's side by side with Leo Duncan.
Yep, Harding leading the way into the final turn in this battle for 3rd. For 2nd, sorry. Mitchell Sparrow is leading. My timing, for some reason, is showing Arthur Brown in the lead, but I'll pay that no mind, as the weaving is already beginning here on the front straight. Tell you what, the shorter race length that really dials up the aggression, and so we're going to be seeing drivers do some defensive moves that we wouldn't have seen in the previous 2 races.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on all of that. Sparrow is still leading at the moment. This is really, really important for Bryce Harding. at the moment, should Mitchell Sparrow lead it? If we were to take a snapshot of the results right now, new championship leader, it'd be Mitchell Sparrow. How important is that? That might be the moment of the round as he goes for a run off the circuit.
Yeah, he certainly does. A little bit too wide on the way out of turn 4. And Baker up the inside there. It looks like Ewan actually serving a slowdown there. He's pushed it too hard. Now he's side by side with his KSR teammate Justin Davies. Hamish Cleland and Tyler Williams right in the midst of the fight as well, drawing up and riding the coattails of the KSR cars. Sabo now back up into 9th place. Well, can he make any further moves forward? Motegi's proven a difficult circuit for our championship leader.
Yeah, it's so difficult to overtake. That's the big thing. Here comes the switchback. Going to try and send it down the inside as Sabo gets to the apex on number 10 machine of Corey Crowson. Might just get the job done. Baker's going to try and follow him through here.
All 3 wide on the way into the final corner. Let's go. Ewan Baker sticking to the inside there and gets the move done as Crowson and Sabo can't get out of each other's hair. And Sabo tries to move over, but Justin Davies is there too. He's boxed in.
Where do you go? Where do you go? He finally gets the clear call and he cuts it hard right. Chops that nose off. He's got his turn to try and follow you and Baker through. Baker's on the inside lane. They lean on each other just a little bit. Crowson trying to go the long way around. Far out, Reese. This is just getting hectic back here. Again, we're going to go side by side through the chicane. Goodbye, lead pack. Goodbye. Sail off into the sunset.
Yeah, James Corbin now 2.5 seconds or near enough ahead of Ewan Baker, who emerges in the lead of that battle for 9th place. And another chance now for Sabo to find his way through on Corey Crowson. Bit of a yield there from Justin Davies. He doesn't want any part of this battle just yet. He's going to sit back and look for a move as something may have happened further on back.
Hamish Cleland has had an issue, and I think he's actually might have to tow out of this one. He might be done for the day. He was up in 12th spot at the start of the lap. His car is destroyed.
Yeah, it's far from ideal. And that's going to be the end of the night there for Hamish Cleland. Have AJ Giddy and Michael Board battling over 17th place, as well as the safety car is out. And I believe that might be for Hamish Cleland.
Yeah, so he's down in the first sector, unfortunately, and seen a couple shots of what might have gone on for him, which we'll get an opportunity to review here in just a few moments. But again, this one's going to be influenced by our BMW M2 safety car. And the issue for Cleland coming your way, Reese.
Yeah, indeed. So Cleland, unfortunately, spun coming through turn 2, and AJ Giddy made huge contact with him. There was a check up in front, and around he went, and Giddy gives him a good smack on the right rear there, and that completely detaches the right rear from the rest of the car. Huge damage for the Frog Leap Juice Racing driver, and well, that's going to be day done for Hamish Cleland. Such a shame. He tried to get it going, but I think he very quickly realized that car wasn't going anywhere fast.
Yeah, but the good news is he kept it off the racing surface as far as he possibly could, and that's at least allowed him to assess the car very, very quickly is probably the best way to sort of think about that one. And I get the feeling we might be back underway at the back end of this lap, actually. They're going to try and get this one underway pretty quickly because shortest race of the night, fewest laps. If we can keep this safety car nice and short, that still gives us a fair bit of racing to go.
Yeah, certainly does. Don't want to be wasting too much track time here. Want to get as much distance in as we can. There is a time limit to this race of 30 minutes, and 10 laps complete at Motegi will certainly get done in about 15 minutes or so under full green flag conditions. So we're not in danger of going time certain yet. If another safety car comes out, or maybe two, then potentially we would be running into some issues there. But the safety car already pulling away from the rest of the field here as they make their way through the fast sweepers. Mitchell Sparrow going to lead us away here, but now he has Bryce Harding for company. And Harding, well, he's been on the outside looking in of a race win all night thus far, a 4th and a 3rd in races 1 and 2. Could it be a first here at the end?
Well, I was going to say based on progression, it should be 2nd place at the end of this one, realistically. Or 3rd, 2nd. But so I've got bad news for you, unfortunately. You've got to sit there just to make the numbers look nice and pretty. Mr. Bryce Harding. Now remember, Sparrow went very early. He went all the way back here on last race. And he's gone quite early yet again, which is going to sort of separate them a little bit.
But, he's going to round up the exit there. Sorry, Scott. As, it looks like Harding was a little bit slower to get away there.
Here comes the weaving. I wonder whether or not that's tyre temperature. I get the feeling that is draft related, not tyre temperature related. But opportunities for our big drivers in the mid-pack. They need to cut their way through some traffic. And I tell you what, Sabo wasted no time. He got it to the inside of Ewan Baker at turn 1.
Oh, then they make contact on the exit too. They're leaning on each other as they have all night long. Sabo giving up the place there and trying for an over-under, but there's another S-bend to come. And Corey Croson might find a way through in the midst of all of this. You mentioned tyre temperatures. I don't think they'll have any trouble getting these tyres heated up because the track temperature has soared to 51 degrees Celsius. They don't want to push too hard, otherwise they'll lose all of that grip. What little there is in this battle between Baker and Sabo, they're still side by side.
Well, the battle that we were picking as the one to watch pretty much right throughout the championship, all the way back at round number 1. And finally, Sabo's going to get long enough up the inside. Was there enough space?
No.
Baker? They're 3 wide because here comes Grosham trying to go around the outside. All right, boys, you can't score any points if you don't make the end of the race. And Corey Croson says, I've had enough of this. Thank you, you two. You two keep squabbling and I'll pick both of your pockets.
What a lovely move by Corey Croson. Maybe a little bit of luck falling his way, but he put the car in the right position at exactly the right time, and that is all down to talent. Well done there, getting 8th spot, but they've lost so much time to everyone ahead of them. James Corbin and Scotty McQueen, they are 3 seconds ahead of this battle pack. The fastest lap going to Alex Sprague as he sits at the back end of that top 6 battle. Sabo still has Ewan Baker as the thorn in his side, but will the outside run through turn 1 work out for him this time?
Does get 3/4 of a nose ahead. Gonna try and go the long way around at turn 2. Become the inside at turn 3. And I think they might have finally settled this stoush. And Ewan Baker's got a poor run through the chicane. So Sabo's going to sense an opportunity to have a crack at the guys up ahead. Somebody else in the background's also going to have a crack at these guys. I wonder if that's not Tyler Williams. Indeed it is.
Yeah, it certainly is. Tyler Williams and Hayden Kirk side by side on the way into the hairpin there as Sabo has a peek up the inside of Croson on the exit of the corner. Williams holding on to that lucky 13th, and, he's going to try his best to hold on to it. Hayden Kirk and Justin Davies also trading spots behind, side by side, all the way through. Big understeer it looked like there for Corey Croson, but he lined up the apex nicely. If anything, it was Sabo that had a problem there. Maybe a bit of oversteer through the left-hander has brought Ewan Baker back into contention.
And the big thing is if Baker can get off this corner, then he will get the opportunity at the final corner. Well, the thing is, he's just called it into race control to have a look at, and realistically, for my mind, Reese, this has sort of been an escalation. They've both been, whenever Ewan's been ahead...
Oh, okay. It's starting to come to blows now. 3 KSR liveried cars on the attack here versus Antel Sabo. Where do you go? Where is the space? He gets in front of Baker, stymies the run for him, but up the inside comes Justin Davies and pushes Sabo a bit further wide in turn 1. This is starting to get brutal.
Yeah, and the thing for me is, if you have a look at where that incident, I'm talking about the one at the penultimate corner. I'm not talking about the contact out of the last corner. I'm talking about way before. For my mind, they've been both starting to push each other a little bit further. And I think Ewan landed the first blow in that fight, and it was sort of squeezing Sabo right to the exit of the road on lap 1. And since then, it's been, all right, you've done that to me. I'm going to do it a little bit harder to you. I'm going to do it a little bit harder to you. Back and forth, and it's an escalation that's been going on the entirety of this race.
spin for Jack Gronwald Jr. He's fallen all the way down to 25th place. He was sort of at the back of this pack just a few moments before. It's been a disastrous night for the number 48. We'll keep our eyes on Tyler Williams for now, who holds onto that lucky 13th. Ewan Baker and Antel Sabo. I mean, it's the story of the race, the battle between these two. They have been at blows from the moment the green flag dropped in race 1, and they're fighting now for only 11th place. They are scrapping for whatever points they can get.
I wonder if anyone's told Sparrow up at the front, because right now, not only is he going to lead the championship, he's going to have a pretty hefty margin. So he's the swing in this round. Remember, we said coming into this one, Sabo's been the one driver. Yeah, sure, he's won all 6 races prior to tonight, but the big thing about that is he's never had an off race. Now we see 2 back-to-back. And now race number 2, all right, that is what it is. You take that in a reverse grid, but then to go backwards is critical. And you know what, Reese? All kicked off by a slowdown penalty in the middle of race 2, right on that first lap.
Yeah, that just shows you how much things can change with one single mistake. Anna Klemic, I mean, honestly, what happened in race 1, hardly her fault, just mixed up in all of the craziness on lap 1, race 1. It's been good to see that she's held on to the sort of midfield positions that she's been in, still trying to break back into that top 10. I still think that qualifying performance is going to go down as one of the highlights of the season for me. Further up to James Corbin. We'll see what he can do to hold on to 7th place. He's got some results to back up as well. 3rd in race 1 as things are starting to get hairy up at the front here. Sparrow's still leading, but it looks like Leo Duncan and Alex Sprague are about to come to blows too.
Yeah, well, this is important as well for both of these guys because they sit in and around that top grouping in terms of the championship. Sprague's going to get lent on by Scotty McQueen just a little bit, and Sprague continues to come away with it. The thing about the 86 is you can lean on each other a little bit, but there also comes a time where you start to impact aerodynamic pieces of the body. Is it going to help you and hinder you massively? No, but any little advantage or any little disadvantage means that you might not be able to make those overtakes.
Scotty McQueen absolutely setting those front tyres on fire there as he tried to find his way past Sprague and Corbin. Unsuccessful for now. Opportunity to cool those tyres down as they fire their way towards the next corner, and it's on for the lead here. Bryce Harding now up into 2nd, keeping that 2nd place nicely. Darren Lobb almost giving him a hurry up there in the hairpin. They break away, and now Mitchell Sparrow will have to look defensive. It's going to be white flag this time by Scott. It's on now.
That flew by, and there was a safety car in the middle of that. I was just looking around and trying to get my bearings a little bit. Yeah, you're right. We've only got about 4.5 Ks left of this motor race, so that one has absolutely flown by. Motegi, Japan, it's given us a great basis for an interesting race. It's given us technical race cars. It's given us a challenge, and with 4.5 Ks, less than that, it'll be 4 Ks any time about now left to run. I challenge the fans. You guys have got to pick a top performer at the end of all this one. I cannot tell you who I'm picking right now.
Yeah, me either. I'm just sitting back and enjoying the action here. White flag flies. Mitchell Sparrow now solidly to the right side of the straight, leaving a bit of a door open for Bryce Harding into turn 1, but I don't think Bryce is going to take that one. Or is he? Sticks the nose out, and he has a bit of a look. But he's going to have to wait for the next couple of hairpins to get that one done. Darren Lobb now starting to fall back from these guys, and he's pushing Duncan, Sprague, Corbin, and McQueen right back as well. Could be a chance for Leo to get onto the podium here if he plays his cards right. But our top 2 still at it on their way out of the S's.
How's this to finish off the top 10? Sabo and Baker still going at each other for 9th and 10th. So there we go. Those guys are still having a bit of a go at each other just to tail things off. Love's got 3rd spot. Duncan's going to have to do something dramatic to get it done on him, but hey, half a lap to go.
Yep, this is it. Now we just got to nail the run through these fast sweepers in the middle of the lap. And who has the best poised front end? Who's been looking after their tyres the best? It looks like our leader, Sparrow Harding, had to have a couple of goes at getting the steering done into those corners, and he lost so much momentum. That might be the breathing room that the 71 needs. Mitchell Sparrow, who we didn't think was a huge factor tonight, has turned out to be the biggest factor of all. And with one more corner to go, well, there may be some moves towards the braking zone for Bryce Harding, but there's nothing going to happen for him there as Duncan goes for it on lob for third. It's not going to happen for him. Mitchell Sparrow is going to take 2 race wins from 3 tonight, and that is going to be a huge point swing in the championship.
That's the championship lead right there, Reese. It was 5 coming into this race. Sabo's going to get it done over Ewan Baker at the back end of the top 10. But my word, we finally got an opportunity to talk about some names up and down the field, and there were so many drivers that threw their name into the ring. McQueen, we figured out he's going to be the elbows out driver inside that top 10. I think that's frustration from Jack Gowenwald. He crossed the line. That was it. That's the last he wanted to see of the sim tonight. He's had a very, very frustrating night at the office.
Certainly has, but Mitchell Sparrow, on the other hand, celebrating with the round win in hand. And Bryce Harding and Darren Lobb on the podium as well. So looks like you got your 4-3-2 wish there, Scott, as Leo Duncan finishes 4th ahead of Alex Sprague to round out the top 5. Corbin, McQueen, Crossan, Sabo and Baker rounding out your top 10, with Davies finishing not too far behind them. Hayden Kirk managing to beat Noah Kitcher and Anna Klemic to the line, and Klemic is going to be our moment of the round, for her save in race 1. So we'll have a chat to her very soon. Avon Dunn, Joel Herbert rounding out your top 16, with Lamont, Oakes, Brown and Lane rounding out your top 20. And in the end, we had 25 cars finishing on the lead lap, rounded out by Michael Board, who got a black flag from race control late on. AJ Giddy, Hamish Cleland and Tom Bewley did not make it to the end of the race. Again, huge points losses for some very quick drivers there. And that's going to bring the racing portion of the night to a close, Scott. I'm looking forward to having a chat to these drivers.
Yeah, I'm really keen to have a chat to a few of them. So, yeah, there's some tempers I can tell you out right now. There's tempers up in the racing server. So, all the boys are out there and they're getting in amongst it. 86 racing. The biggest thing is you can't go anywhere. There's elbows out. The paint traded left, right, and centre. It's a big old challenge. But my word, Reese. We said this series just keeps continuing to deliver. And, well, we got 2 weeks left. By the way, think about this. In 2 weeks' time, we're off to Long Beach to finish this series off.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Long Beach Street Circuit, one of my favorite street circuits on the planet. And, well, if you thought the racing was super intense here, wait till you see it with no runoff beyond the corners, right?
I mean, the only way you could beat that's probably Adelaide, really, for these cars. Yeah, so this is going to be phenomenal. I reckon lap 1 through the fountain. How many rows do you reckon we can get 2x2 in the Toyota 86s through the fountain and at Long Beach?
Yeah, that is the question, isn't it? It's gonna be a fun one for sure. Well, it looks like we're going to have a chat to, I believe, Anna Klemic first up. Our moment of the round winner. Anna, not only did you get a top 5 in qualifying, but you had an incredible save in race 1 as well. Very eventful night for you.
Yeah, I'm considering last week where I started dead last in qualifying. It was a really good turnaround to start P5 again, but as this format goes, if you have an incident in the first race, then you're put on the back foot for the rest of the races, and yeah, it sucked. That first race really sucked, and then from the damage of the car, it was 13 laps of pain, but slowly worked my way back up through the rest of the second and third races, so yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, you listed one of your big achievements as just getting into this series in the first place. So, the fact that you've made that impact here in the first 3 rounds is certainly something to be talked about. 1 round to go here at Long Beach. I think there's certainly going to be quite a few moments there.
Long Beach I really like Long Beach. I drove it recently in the car and I got really so I think I'll be quite good there. And also Sandown in the final round as well, which is a circuit that I really enjoy. So hopefully the momentum is starting to shift in the second half of the series, where I think I'm trying to aim for top 10 in points by the end of the season. So I think, but today has shown that the pace is there. I've just got to keep working at it, and the results will come.
Well, hopefully they do come at Long Beach for you, Anna. Thanks very much for joining us, and hopefully get a chance to chat to you next week.
Thank you.
Anna Klimek with your moment of the round there. Next up, Scott Rankin's gotten a chance to catch it to Mitchell Sparrow, who I'm sure is still celebrating after the second of his wins tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell, mate, big swing in the championship tonight by our numbers, by our math, by our metrics, and both of us are commentators, so that means absolutely nothing. We've got you as a new championship leader. Do you think that was even on the cards heading into racing tonight?
Nah, honestly, I was at work today and I wasn't actually feeling that well, and I hadn't done much testing this week. We've been really busy at work trying to get some cars prepped for races coming up, so yeah, it's been kind of a blessing in disguise tonight. It all kind of fell my way. Obviously, Antel had a bit of a rough night compared to his first two rounds, but yeah, I'll take it. I mean, the championship's cool, like leading and everything, but I just want to win races and put the car on the top step and have some fun while doing it and get some good results for our brand. So yeah, like the championship lead's cool, but yeah, I'm just here to win races and yeah, have some fun.
Mate, next time out, we're heading off to Long Beach. I think this is going to be one of those ones, a little bit better opportunity for overtakes at Long Beach, but the chaos and the carnage. I think a critical factor to results is not just management of race 2, but aggression in race 2. A little bit lucky, obviously. You've got to be in the right place at the right time to pounce on those opportunities when they present themselves in a reverse grid race. But at the same time, that also rewards a touch of aggression as well. I think race 2 is probably the biggest key to doing well in this series.
Yeah, for sure, and obviously it sets the grid for the feature race in race 3. So yeah, the second race is definitely super important. Yeah, kind of all just fell my way quite nicely tonight, but yeah, it's going to be. I don't even know what to say about Long Beach. I've never even actually properly done a race there before because it's just not a place that really kind of does anything for me. So obviously, yeah, I'm going to have to kind of pull my head in and get some laps in under my belt. I go away on Thursday, so I'm going to miss out on a couple of days of testing. So yeah, the next 2 nights will be pretty full on, trying to get some laps under my belt. But I think, yeah, like obviously being fast there and qualifying is going to be really important, but at the same time, it's Long Beach, man. So like, yeah, anything can happen, and you could be the fastest car on the night, but come around a blind corner and someone could be sitting there, and you write your car off and you're done. So yeah, I mean, I'll do my preparation and I'll put my best foot forward. But yeah, like you said, I'm going to have a bit of luck on my side, and yeah, we'll see how it all unfolds.
Righto, mate. Well, first and foremost, congratulations on a couple of race wins here. First driver to steal some from Antel Sabo. Who would you like to give a thank you and a shout out to?
First of all, happy Mother's Day for yesterday to my mum. She's really sick at the moment, lying in bed, so she was watching on, and hopefully you really enjoyed that, Mum, and love you. So big shout out to her. Everyone else that supports and within the team and fans out there that tune into the YouTube every Monday night and support us. It's awesome, and we really love the support as a team. We're just a bunch of young kids trying to have some fun on a Monday night after a race weekend. So yeah, can't really say enough about our supporters. And then yeah, the team, just absolute awesome bunch of boys. Obviously we all work together in the actual racing and the 86 championship. So to be able to come and do this all together is pretty cool, and it's awesome for like a mechanic like myself and Aiden to get to race with the boys. So yeah, I just can't thank them enough for the support tonight. They were trying to coach me through the last couple of laps, and that one just trying to keep me relaxed and focused on the task at hand. So yeah, couldn't ask for a better group of people around me.
Mate, congratulations on the results here tonight. Go off and celebrate. And yeah, thanks, Mum. Big shout out to all the mums over in New Zealand, not just from Mitchell Sparrow, but mate, that's a pretty nice shout out to give, I think, as well. So congratulations, brother.
Thank you very much. Have a good week, boys, and yeah, make sure you guys tune in next week for Long Beach. It's going to be an awesome night of racing, and hopefully it's pretty clean, and we can take the championship to the last round nice and tight.
Congratulations. And Reese, I believe we've got one more interview before we're done here tonight.
Yeah, indeed, we have caught up with Antel Sabo. First time we've spoken to you since the start of race 1 and then the finish as well. Races 2 and 3, not exactly going your way there. The championship lead has been slashed as a result of what happened in races 2 and 3 there. But you still have the fastest lap award, Antel. That gives you a $30 MRP Sim Racing voucher there. So you've come away with something tonight, as well as your new bit of Moser gear.
Yeah, gotta be grateful to come out with something. It's been a very tough one these last 2 races. I've very much got it handed to me. I've got a lot of teams out there trying to hold me back and trying to give the boys up that have been closest to the championship a good go. So fair play so far. So we're trying to hang in there as well as we can, really trying to race as well as we can. When you're being bumped and dumped out wide, some of these corners, you can't really do anything about it if you're stuck on the outside. So it is what it is. You hand some over, you get them handed over. So it's just how racing goes sometimes.
Yeah, of course, and I think you and Baker would probably say the same thing. You two were certainly together for the entirety of that third race, and it was brilliant to watch. But yeah, you're right. It was getting a little bit biff and barge at times. Hopefully, with the concrete walls coming a little bit closer at Long Beach next week, we won't see too much more of that. But I'm sure that it'll be just as brutal.
Yeah, looking forward to Long Beach. Definitely, it's going to be a bit more of an interesting challenge, that one. Should be some fun racing there, so I'm just looking forward to the third round, is it now? Third round. Fourth round.
Fourth round, yes.
There we go. Got there in the end. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, as are we, Antel. It's going to be a very tight fight between yourself and Mitchell Sparrow at the final round, so wishing you the best of luck, and we'll check in with you in 7 days' time.
Cheers, team. Looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone.
Well, Antel Sabo will begin his preparations for the final round of the NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup Finals at Long Beach next week, Scott. I mean, we've already waxed lyrical about this place a million times, but Motegi certainly turned it on as well.
Yeah, challenging circuit. I think the biggest thing from those guys was just, the crisscrosses and everything. It didn't necessarily eventuate. Long Beach is going to be different. So many staircase-style corners there as well. And that final corner really mimics the final corner here. Just much, much, much tighter. The big thing at the last corner is, well, if you whack the inside of it, at least the benefit is you can say, hey, Scotty McLaughlin whacked that one as well. So, look, don't go chasing it. But if you do, hey, you're among stars.
You absolutely are. We're looking forward to bringing you that action next week as we bring this show to a close. A big thanks to all of our sponsors here, including Crane Insurance, Next Level Racing, Manon Racing Products, Has 3D, as well as Speed Nation and Race Lab, as well as 24 Red Racing, all bringing some incredible support to everyone here. And a big thanks to the crew at NZ Sim Racing TV as well for bringing us all of this action and bringing us on board here from Australia to commentate on some of NZ's best sim drivers and real world drivers as well. I'm Reese Gardner, Scott Rankin alongside me in the comms box here for the NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup. We'll see you next week for the final round at Long Beach.